Hello, hello. Welcome to
Hello,
Human Design
hello.
Coffee Talk. Today we have Jas on, and I am so excited for this episode. I have no idea what we're going to talk about. I have some ideas of kind of what I want to poke into. And I'm just stoked. So for those of you watching on YouTube, we will pull up Jas's chart, but Jas is a 3-5 sacral generator. Jas is also a spiritual philosopher, writer, and founder of Era Society, which is a tea house and oasis for spiritual seekers and Aquarian entrepreneurs. And I have fangirled Jas since I got into human design. There's just something about her that I was like, what is that? And then one day, I think you had it in your profile or on Instagram, your bio, that your cross of tension. And I was like, that's why I fucking love there it is. Because honestly, like in my girl gang, I can really only hang with people who can handle provocation.
Yep.
So Teresa also carries the 3955. So today's conversation is going to be wonderfully provoking to our listeners, probably. So thank
When
you.
is it not?
Yeah.
But extra pokey today.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I've been looking forward to this for feels like a minute, so I'm happy that it's here.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Teresa's going to pull up your chart.
Yeah.
We
I'll
like
just leave it up for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Oops,
Let's get cozy.
Yeah,
Right.
let's get in there. The people that watch on YouTube can see all the inside, all the inner workings.
Very cool.
Yeah. So right off the bat, I noticed that you are a wide split.
Yep.
You want to talk about that wide split life? I mean, there aren't a lot of conversations. I mean, we talk about split death, simple single split. But there's not a lot
Yes.
of conversation about wide split.
I agree with you. When I was studying at BG5, which is the business take of human design school, and I was asking my teacher, like, I live in a house with all emotionally defined people. So my husband and both my kids are emotionally defined, generator, projector, manifester, all emotional. And I'm not. And I'm always confused about everything every day. And I was like, does this have anything to do with that? And she was like, yes, and you're wide. So you just are always confused until you're not. And you have to just be okay with walking around with no G center, with no anchoring point. You're just kind of floating in the air until you meet someone, you go to a coffee shop, you're taking a walk, you like walk past someone that just for a moment gives you that point of clarity. And I'm not going to lie, it's really hard because I feel like a lot of people are moving so much faster than me in their lives. Like they're accomplishing things so much faster. Just things are moving so much faster for them. And I feel like it feels like I'm still sitting in the same spot, kind of mulling over the same things over and over again until I do get that aha moment. And then when I do, I can move. But I don't feel like a generator a lot of the times because I'm not doing a lot. Like I'm not doing a lot of physical activity. I'm just waiting a lot. Like my waiting process is really, really long.
I think that's a really important distinction because this is where we get into the nuance of design, where you hear something like a stereotypical something about generators. And if you don't actually know this nuance of how you're designed, you could think that there's something wrong with you.
Yes, for a long time I did. For the longest time I thought my chart was wrong. And I would run different time within that day and not much change. But I just always felt like a projector. I was like, no one ever asks me anything. I don't respond. I'm not responding to anything. And then what ends up happening is I feel such deep frustration that it kind of moves into depression with that hanging 39. And it's like, I don't have anything to do. I don't have anywhere to put all of my sacral and root energy into. And then all of my not self stuff comes up. Like, no one's listening to me. I have no direction. I'm not valuable. No one's showing me that I'm valuable. Just all of the stuff that comes out. And I really had to just, I think that's where a lot of my spiritual practices have come in, because it's like, okay, the mind is talking, but it's not really saying anything about you, like you as the soul, you as the spirit, you as God. And so you kind of have to ignore that stuff until it's useful. And I have a lot of mind chatter. That's all I have, really, is just a lot of mental functioning going and blasting off every 2 seconds. Like, oh, what about this? And then I always think that I'm wrong because I have the 63. It's always doubting. It's like, okay, should I go? Should I do this one? Okay, I'm not ready yet. I'm like at the ledge, never really knowing when it's time to jump, just kind of looking down and stepping back, looking down and stepping back. So it is a weird, it's a weird chart. I'm sure everyone thinks that about their chart. It's a weird experience to be so open. And I know it's like taboo in human design to look at your chart separately. You have like your personality chart, and then you have your body chart or your form chart. And me and my husband are opposite, where I have like a reflector body. He has a generator body, but he has a reflector mind, and I have a generator mind. So it's very interesting to watch our dynamics. Like, he can work from sun up to sundown, and I can only work like 1 or 2 times a week. And when I say work, I'm saying like when I'm sitting at my computer and I'm really going at it, and like I'm not getting up. I'm not getting up for water. I have what I'm doing, and that's what I'm doing. But that is very rare. And I have had a lot of healing, and I'm still going through it, of just making myself so wrong for that. But it's clear that's what my design is, 52-9. When it's time to work, you sit and you do the thing. And when it's not, there's nothing to do. And you're just kind of like waiting for that next moment of work to come in. That's probably been my biggest frustration with the wideness of my chart.
I think that's such an important deconditioning process, especially for generators, is learning about how we actually work compared to the like colonialist conditioning that we have that says we need to work X amount of hours and from this time to this time every day. And if you don't work this amount of hours per week, then you're worthless and you need to be working harder and you need to be grinding. That runs so deep in generators. It's, I mean, in everybody, but especially us, because we are designed to work. And I think we do genuinely like to work when it's work that we enjoy, but we also can love our work and not control when it is that we have the energy to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so good. And it's all equally devastating, because it's like, I want to work. Like, and I even feel emotional just hearing you say that, because I do want to work. And then there's that heart that's like, I can do it. I promise. Like, I promise I'm a hard worker. Like, I know exactly what to do. But when the circumstances do not, or the environment doesn't allow you to prove yourself, you kind of start feeling like, okay, maybe I'm the fucked up one. Maybe it's me that is, yeah, maybe I'm just out of touch, because I'm a Capricorn. I love working. I love it so much. But there are times in my life where I can't prove that I'm a good worker, or I can't prove that I'm a hard worker, or I can't prove that I'm valuable. I'm a valuable worker. And then what does that leave me with? Well, there's a lot of people pleasing and a lot of those kind of power dynamics that happen when you can't necessarily prove your worth to the other person, and they want to pay you a certain amount, and you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't feel good. But you can't exactly say or prove to them, I actually deserve more than this. So there's a lot of that essence of trying to receive what you're worth, in quotation marks, without anyone actually seeing the work that you've done. And
Mm.
it fucks with me. It really, really does. It's like one of those, it's a huge conditioning center for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it fucking sucks.
I'm with you on that, dude. It's like such a big thing to move through.
It is.
I
It is.
love,
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead,
oh, I
Brandy.
was just gonna say I love watching like the vulnerable shares around deconditioning the ego center.
Mm,
I mean, just witnessing people talk about different centers, that one, it's just like the heart, and you can feel it when they're talking and sharing, and when it's very vulnerable.
it is. It is because I think it's so closely tied to like our survival.
Yeah.
And no one wants to feel like they're out of the group, or no one wants to feel like they can't make a contribution to the group, or that they're here for no reason, or that their purpose doesn't matter, or that it's so insignificant that it's not valuable to what they're a part of. And my son is an emotional projector, but he has the 4037 channel. And so for him, it's all heart. You know, he has no root, no sacral. So it's just, he just has head ajna and heart emotional. And so he just moves to his own drum, you know, doing whatever he wants. But he said the other day, I wanna join a soccer team. I'm like, no sacral, no root. Okay. Why? What about this whole soccer thing do you want to do? He said, I want to score goals and win trophies. I said, okay. It was so pure. It was so clean. It was so clear that then it made me think, like, what are my wants? What are the things that I just want? People say, oh, I want to, you know, join a soccer team because I want to be part of a community. And maybe all those things are true for him, you know, somewhere deep down inside. But he is an emotional projector with a defined heart. That's real for him. He wants trophies. He wants to score goals. He wants to celebrate. Like, and he didn't say it with any ego. There was no, I want to prove that I'm a great player. I want to make it to the big leagues. There was nothing like that. And of course, the two generator parents were like in full response. Okay, how do we make this happen? Alex is Googling like Bali kids soccer club. And I just was witnessing just the whole thing, that such a pure desire gets people up and ready to work for you and ready to do what it is that you want to do. And that happened like a week ago, and I've just been thinking about it and meditating on it. It's like all the times that we try to wince or like cut apart our desires, not realizing that if it was fully spoken whole, the amount of people that would rally around us, not in judgment, not in any of the things that we initially feel when we say our wants, our desires, but that people would be ready to pay you, connect you to their friends, connect you to whatever avenues that you needed to be on in order to accomplish that thing. I mean, he doesn't have the conditioning that we have, so he's able to really say that freely, and he has a home where he can say a lot of those things and they're not judged. So that's obviously a big part, but that was a really big lesson for me, especially as a fifth line, that when I say things, people misconstrue them all the time. They just are always going to think that I'm saying something else. They're going to think that I want to be this, even though I'm saying this other thing. And I have learned for a very long time, the majority of my life, to compartmentalize the things that I want to say so that I can be accepted and not fully rejected. I know that what I'm saying will bring up some pokiness, but I've learned to parcel it out in ways that are much more Libra, or much more conducive to our connection or to our relationship. And that has actually proved to be the most dysfunctional thing that I can do in my life, because it's really gotten me nowhere. The reason why I feel like it feels like everyone's passing me by, is because of that. Because of the lack of bravery or courage to just say, this is what I want to do. And it doesn't really matter if you perceive me as whatever from your, from your own life experience. So that's been a really profound thing that I've just been meditating on. That's like, what are my wants? What are my true wants? Kind of like what you were saying, Brandy, that what have who or what have I not been allowing in based off of an old version of myself?
Do you think because I think defined egos kind of inspire open and undefined egos to want, because both my parents are defined egos, and I've been thinking about this all week. I was at their house the other day and they were like, what do you want? Like they were like pressuring me to figure out what I want. Like they're like, do you want kids? Do you want to own a house one day? What do you want? And I was like, I don't know what I want. You know, it reminded me of that one scene in The Notebook where he's like, what do you want? And I don't think, like, I know that open egos have wants and have desires, but I think our desires, at least in my experience, are more fluid, and we don't always know what it is that we want. I mean, especially as generators, we don't really know what we want until it's in front of us and we can respond to it. But yeah, do you find for yourself as an undefined ego that you don't always know when you know, but there can be a lot of confusion around that? Whereas defined egos to me feel almost very decisive about what they want and what they're willing to do to get it.
Okay. So that last part, they know what they want and they know what they're willing to do to get it. I think it's that. It's maybe not so much. Okay. So this is like a revelation I'm having in real time. Open throat. I don't know what I know until it comes to the forefront. I'm like, oh, I think I know that. I actually know what I want, but I don't know what I have to do to get it. And I don't like the lack of known power dynamics that I'm going to have to go through, or that I think I might have to go through in order to get it. So I could say, I want to build a tea house. I could say I want to build a physical tea house. However, I don't know if I want to deal with the whatever comes along with that. I don't know if I'm going to have the heart or the courage to stand up for myself when someone says it's this much. And you're like, okay, well, I don't want to pay that much. I always kind of just falter. I'm always like, oh shit, it's that much. Okay. Give me 1 second. Let me kind of go back to the drawing board. And then I'll make myself uncomfortable to go and pay that amount, as opposed to saying, no, this is the budget, this is the cap, this is how much we're spending on this. So I think it's the power dynamics. And it's just funny, I'm having this memory. My little sister, she's not little anymore, but she's my younger sister. And we're not that far apart. So we were always in high school together and always in middle school together, like all the big grades. And she always, anytime someone had a problem with me at school, I would always just be like, okay, don't really care. I just don't have enough energy to fight this person, to go over it. Okay, so my sister has a defined heart, and she's like, who said that? So she's in 9th grade. I'm in 11th grade at this point. And she's like looking for this person. And I'm thinking, why? That person is long gone, but she's ready. She's like ready to stand up for her sister. She's ready to fight anybody that has even breathed in my direction in the wrong way. And for me, it's just not that big of a deal. But I remember my mom said something like you always let things slide and your sister never does. And that was such a big conditioning agent for me, because my mom's also defined heart. And I just thought, oh, okay, so there's something wrong with the fact that I always let things slide, that I don't stand up for myself. I don't fight back. I don't go into the fire. And I don't know if it's that I don't really care to fight back, or if I just don't have the energy for it, or if I'm afraid. I'm not really sure what which one it is. All I know is that it doesn't give me energy back. Like, it doesn't feel regenerative when I fight back. It makes me come out of character. It makes me feel like it's not myself. Although I kind of get the applause of everyone, the like respect of everyone, I don't feel like it's my most respectful Jas, like my most respectful self. And then I kind of have to fall on the sword of like, oh, okay, that person thinks that they can push me around, or they think that they can take advantage. So then I'm kind of left with that piece of, what do I do with that now?
What I'm seeing is you have 38 and you don't have 28. And so you're not trying to be something you're not. You're just living you. And in those situations, it was like, I can fight. This isn't worth it. Now fighting to like have a purpose.
Yes.
And then proving with your undefined ego, you are just being you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But the world doesn't like that. The world doesn't like people that don't fight for things. They don't like people that are not like on the picket line, it's those people that are very much celebrated, the ones that go, what are they even called? They do the marches, and they
Like
and they
activists.
yeah, like activists. The world doesn't like if you're not an activist. The world doesn't like for people to sit on the sidelines. They don't want you to just sit and observe. And I'm designed to be an observer. I'm not designed to be in the marches and have the signs up and do all those things. So it's very and then I live in a house filled with opposite people that are like, hey, mister, you dropped your trash. These are my kids. Okay, you need to come back and pick your trash up. And I'm just like, okay. He dropped his trash. And my 5-year-old is chasing him down the street. You dropped your trash. We don't litter. It's like, okay, this is a very interesting dynamic. It's like, am I supposed to be one of those people that are, no, I'm not. It never feels good for me. So how do I navigate my life as a non-activist, as a non, do you know what I mean? Someone that's supposed to be active in their environment, that's supposed to like get the people going. It's not me.
It's interesting because I was just reading your 38.3 conscious sun, and it's the ability to sustain through integration with similar forces, thus ensuring the vitality to persevere, the energy to integrate with others in times of struggle. So I wonder, because you're giving all these examples of people who will fight for you or fight around you, and you're like, I'll integrate with them, but I'm not necessarily the one that needs to fight. I'm just going to integrate with them.
And being collective, because your circuitry is all collective.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's this like flavor in human design where it's like collective would be the activists for the all, for the thing. So it's like
exactly.
Almost even it feels like kind of intensified that somebody might pick up that frequency from you, not knowing human design, not knowing anything, and be like, you of all people should care. And you're like, I don't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But also, you don't have anything to prove.
You have nothing to
there's
prove.
that
Right.
too,
Yeah.
because
Exactly.
it's like I have the full 38/28 channel, and I can definitely be a fighter when it's something that
Oh yeah, I'll fight a bit.
I'm ready to fight about, but
Yeah.
I don't have anything to prove. So it's not coming from this space of like, I will die on this hill, because I just don't have that kind of energy,
I will.
Yeah, you will for sure.
Mhm.
And that's very much the difference.
Do you guys find that like the person that dies on the hill, or the person that chooses to not die on the hill, ends up getting nothing? So that's my conditioning. It's like, if you're not willing to die on the hill, you don't get anything. And so I have restrained myself, because I no longer want to be, I'm calling it the death of a savior. I just don't want to be that person anymore. But then my mind says, well, that person doesn't get what they want. So you have to choose. You can either be the savior that's exhausted, but you still get what you want, or you don't You no longer have to be the savior, but you're not going to get what you want. What do you guys, what's your,
You know, that kind of makes me think of, I was looking at P the Fairy's Instagram the other day, and she had her like about me post, and for whatever reason I wanted to read it. It was like pinned at the top of her page, and at one of her, it was like bullet points, and one of them said, "I'm not an activist and don't expect me to be," pretty much. And I was like, that's so fucking cool to just put that out there and say, this isn't who I am. And just because I'm Black and queer, whatever, you might expect me to be an activist, but and there are
Right.
plenty of people out there that are willing to do that. I am not one of them. And I was like, damn, P is so fucking cool, dude. Like to just say that. And I think I wonder if there's, I don't know, there's a benefit to just owning who you are, and then you do get what you're meant to have or what you want, because you're just owning who you are and you're not wasting time trying to be anything else, you know?
Absolutely. 1000%. I mean, I think this is really funny because I think people know me as like a spiritual person. And then whatever projections and labels come along with being a spiritual person, that like you care for the world and you care for peace and all those things. And I do care for all those things. But at the same time, I'm also a third line who doesn't really care about your personal life. I don't care about what you're going through, in the sense that, not that it doesn't affect me, but I don't really care. And it's a different type of, I can't quite explain it. I think people often are propelled into their purpose because they so deeply care about something, right? Something that has impacted them so to the core. I don't have that. And I've been waiting my whole life to like experience that. What's that thing that is, I'm just going to feel like, oh, I was made to be an advocate for this. And I keep trying, I trial and error different things. I'm like, okay, it's this, it's that. And I think what I'm coming to is that I don't actually care. I don't have that thing that is so devastatingly raw that I'm here to just be at the forefront of and say, we can't have this happen, or we need more of this to happen, or let's balance the scales here. I was reading one time, Ra was talking about the 5818, I think it is, the correction channel. And I only have 58. And he was bringing up this example about someone that has that channel, or that gate, and is constantly trying to fix the individual, but it's a collective gate. And so you keep going around telling people, don't smoke, don't do this, wear these pants instead of these pants, do this instead of that thing. And you're always met with resistance, because the solution that you're trying to solve is not at an individual level, it's at a collective level. And if you keep going and poking and prodding and, poking all these people, they're going to give you feedback or pushback. They're not going to like that you keep telling them to stop smoking. You're not their doctor. You're not anyone that's been put in a position to support them in any way. And I just had a huge epiphany from that. I was like, that is what I have been doing my entire life, trying to correct individuals. Even in the space that we inhabit, the wellness, coaching, support space, everything is so one-on-one. I'm not for one-on-one. I don't care enough to like that your whole life is transformed. And somehow I keep getting sucked into it. Someone will ask me something and I'll be like, yes, okay, I can help you with that. And just because I can doesn't mean that I should. And I am currently in a transition in my life right now, in this present moment, where I'm no longer initiating to be in an environment that is one-on-one supportive, like supporting people one-on-one. but I also haven't gotten to the other side of what it is that I am here for. So I'm in this weird limbo of, honestly, I just spend the majority of my days on the couch. I'm not doing anything. There isn't anything that I've responded to do. You know, like when you guys reach out, yeah, I'm stoked to be in conversation with you, but I don't have any plans. And I was just talking to Vanessa and I was like, I'm fucking planless. Like my life is planless right now, and it is bringing up every single crevice of fear and of overwhelm that I wouldn't wish this on anybody. This is not a place that I would ever invite or invoke anyone to go into. And it's not even a place that I came consciously. I just stopped doing that other thing through the epiphanies of, okay, you're not here for one-on-one. First of all, you're collective. All your circuitry is collective. So all the one-on-one jargon is conditioning. And it's not anyone's fault. It's just in the environment that I had found myself, of all the people that I loved being around, all these smart, intellectual, intelligent people, which is correct for me. But that's not the way that you make money, or that's not the way that you survive on the material plane. And so now I'm having to figure out how I survive on the material plane in a much more later stage than I think society celebrates. Maybe not for 6 lines, because you guys advocate for your own kind of life path, but for the other lines that don't have that roof phase and then coming down. And everyone now expects 6 lines to not be doing anything during this healing phase. We expect them to be healing so that they can be of service and of use and of purpose when they come down, but not so much for the other lines. So it's a very uncomfortable. It's a very uncomfortable season.
What happens when we detach our purpose from our income?
Mm-hmm. I feel like that would be so heavenly.
Yeah.
To just exist. Not exist with a purpose in the sense that I was made for something. I'm more curious to see what was I made for, if anything, as opposed to I was made for this. And that certainty that I think we're expected to have, even as someone that's defined, I don't have that. I'm certain about some things, but I've never felt certain about the idea or structure or philosophy's current principles around purpose, because I think it's so closely tied with our survival, and we were not designed to survive. And so because we have that thought process going, a lot of us don't actually ever get to experience our true purpose, because we have connected it so deeply with, if we're surviving, then we're in purpose.
Yeah.
And then if we're thriving, hell yeah, I'm in purpose. But it's still so closely linked. It's not just I'm sitting on the couch and this is just where I'm at today. Having to move through all of the mental chatter of like, you could be doing this and you could be doing that, and why don't you check your email, and why don't you do this, and remember that project you had on the list, you could probably go and do that thing now. It's like, but I haven't responded, and no one has asked me. No one has asked me for my energy to do that. So it just has to be a no for now. And I know that it's like, it's weird to even, I mean, I can have that conversation with you guys, but that's not a widely amplified conversation.
These are the conversations we want to fucking have, though,
Yes.
because this is the truth of being in your deconditioning process, everybody. It's not the airy fairy marketing shit that we see on Instagram.
Mhm.
It's this exact thing. And you're so fucking real for this, Jas. So fucking
Yeah.
real for it. Just putting
And
it
this-
all out there.
The surrendering to this image that I saw, like we get, like you're just surrendered right now.
Yeah.
But so many people, what I just like picked up, like surrendering is like this beautiful, like free falling.
Mm.
And I don't know if it's all three of our loaded roots, but surrendering is fucking stuck on a couch. It is
It
not
is.
it is not a beautiful free falling experience where you're surrendered in this, like a fucking angel in a picture. It's
No.
fucking stuckness and you're just sitting
Yeah.
and waiting to respond.
What do you guys think about that? Like, and maybe this is even a question for you, Teresa, because I know you do a lot of kind of this nervous system work one-on-one with people. But I've been, during my time on the couch, I have learned a lot of these ideals around people are like, you're not just wanting to watch one more video, you're actually in freeze response. And I think to myself, it's like, I don't know. Am I? It's like, what's the correlation between stuck, surrender, and trauma response?
I've thought about that a lot because that hasn't always resonated with me because I'm like,
Mm,
as opposed to what? Because what else would I be doing if I wasn't laying on the couch and at this particular moment if my body is not actually drawn to do anything? And is it because
mm,
society wants me to be productive?
mm-hmm,
Yeah, because the opposite of freeze is unfrozen, so you can be active and doing things. And so while because I've experienced this over the past years, like sitting there, and there are times where I could feel my nervous system's fucked up. I can
mm-hmm,
look at like my appetite, my sleep, other things. But if and then there's just like, there's productive rest and unproductive
mm-hmm.
rest, and sitting there and like mulling over and feeling guilty for rest wasn't like surrendered me.
Right.
Surrendered me can just be there and be okay with it. And sure, stuff comes up like, oh, you should be doing this, but I can catch
Mm-hmm.
it and be like, Psh, that,
I think this was why
Mm,
Ross said waiting is an active process. He didn't mean because you're running
mm-hmm.
around doing things. It's because you're observing your awareness and
Yeah.
you're observing your body. And I know what a sacral response feels like, or I know what my
Mm-hmm.
root feels like when it starts to power up and to actually give me the energy to do something. And to me, I guess if I was sitting there and like afraid or feeling, um, oppressed in some way, then
Mm,
that would maybe be a freeze response or whatever we want to call it. But I think stuff like that can almost be like more confusing to people that are just trying to tune into their energy and where it wants to flow that day. And I feel
mm,
like anytime I've been, having a couch day and I
or a
am
couch month.
telling, yeah, couch month, let's be
yeah.
real.
I know. I was like, couch day. Okay.
Couch, yeah, couch month. I had like a couch 2 years, if I'm gonna be really honest.
Yeah.
And during that time, there were so many days where I would tell myself, like, you could get up and do this. And I would actually try and get up and try to start doing it. And it would just feel like a slog. And it would feel like I was going against my body. And
Mm,
I know the difference between a genuine
yes.
response versus trying to force a response.
I think that what I feel too is
Yeah.
the difference is like, if you can even ask yourself those questions,
Mm,
just like if you can ask yourself if you're a narcissist, you're probably not one. So if you're like,
mm,
is this? It's, if you even have the awareness of that, like it's, freeze is very much just like, it's from in my experience, it's this stuck, not being able to observe the
mm,
thoughts, but completely trying to act on them, and heart rate up, and you know it's not like I can't witness myself.
mm.
I can't watch what I'm doing with any sort of grace. And it's just,
I also wonder, what is the obsession with regulation these days? That's such a buzzword, nervous system regulation. I was talking to my friend Doc Yamini. He's a 78-year-old projector, and we'll have these like long phone conversations randomly. And he asked me that. He said, what is regulation, and why are we all trying to be regulated? Because number one, everybody has a different type of regulation. Like, what is regulation to me? And number two, what if our body needs to be dysregulated sometimes? Like, it's just
well,
another homogenized thing to
It
be
is.
regulated.
yeah. And
It
it's
is.
about noticing. It's so you can notice regulation and dysregulation because people don't notice it. But yes, you're so right. And that all goes by definition too. Like, if you have adrenalized ass roots like all three of us do,
Yes.
you want to tell my adrenalized constant, like the adrenalized thing that's pumping through my body when I get that oomph, that's wrong and that's me dysregulated, then I would constantly be trying to fix my adrenals. There's a lot
So
there.
true.
There's
There's a lot there.
There's a lot there.
I feel that I feel vindicated, validated. So that's nice. You know,
It's just
yeah,
like
because
with the
sometimes,
body, like how can we support
yeah.
the surrender?
Yeah.
And you know, surrender, I don't know if that's exactly the, maybe because it's always met with such like you did something wrong and so you need to surrender. It's always
Ooh.
met with that
Mhm.
we don't love surrender. But what if this was our natural state, is that we're always in co-creation, and
Yeah.
surrender is just more so waiting for your turn, like God's doing something, so now wait for your turn to go. And then there's this more of an interdependent co-creative relationship with life, as opposed to you are the only one that's responsible for your life. And this is a different conversation than be responsible for your life.
Right.
That's not that.
Yeah.
I hope that people can understand that tonally. That's not that conversation. This conversation is more so about you having to be the sole responsible person for every single thing that happens in your life. And that's fucking exhausting.
So
Like, I don't
exhausting.
want to do that. I wasn't designed to do that. I wasn't created by a creator to now just be free falling through space by myself without any antenna or connection back to truth, love, kindness, compassion. It's not possible. And every time that my mind or the world tells me to get up, they're basically saying, take responsibility of your life. No one's coming to save you. Oh, I'm not looking for a savior. That's not what I'm after. I'm here to be in a dance with this life, with my life. And my chart tells me that I'm not designed to be active all the time. I only have one channel in my sacral, and it's a sitting channel. It's a
It's a sitting channel, right?
It's stillness.
It's a
still
sitting
not even-
meditating channel.
it's not even a doing channel. So it's a weird, I often go through these I think it's just sadness, you know? Like, what am I supposed to be doing? Because everyone else is doing something. But that's not how I was designed. I'm not designed to be doing anything. And I don't know if we need more examples of that. And that's why I was created with this design, to just be someone that doesn't do much. But then there is a lot of backlash and flack that comes with, you're a smart, intelligent person. Why aren't you doing anything with your life? You're a bum. Get off of the couch. You know, those types of things. And I think I've spent my entire life trying to prove that I'm not a bum, trying to prove that this isn't my design, trying to prove that I'm not just someone that's designed to just sit and just be on the couch and just observe life kind of passing me by in a way. But one of the things that I've been praying a lot about is like, I just want my life.
Mhm.
I just say, God, I want my life. I'm tired of living a fraction of other people's lives and wearing all these different masks. I just want my life. And if my life looks like my husband is the one that makes money and I just sit on the couch and I'm just observing life, then I have to make my peace with that. And whatever I'm making mean about me, because I don't have a lot of examples of that. And the examples that we do have are, you are a spiritual guru that's off in the Himalayas, and that's where you can sit and do nothing. But not if you're a householder, you're a mom, you're a wife, you're a person in community with others. What's your contribution? And I ran my shadow chart in Genetic Matrix, and my number one shadow is gate 8. You're not making a contribution. And so every decision that comes from my not self is because I'm so afraid that I will not be making a contribution, that I'll just be dead weight. I'll be the person that has to be carried along. So this is a lot of like, this is me getting my life, you know, getting my life, getting my chart, getting my design, which is, yeah, you're a generator, but you're not actually designed to do anything. And it's like, oh,
It feels like a rite of passage though, because I don't think I've talked to anybody who isn't like deeply radically experimenting that hasn't gone through a season or several seasons of nothing, like nothingness, because it's just, it's the homogenized world that wants us to be doing all the time. And it's just going to get worse after 2027 with the 2034 in the transits. You know, it's like, to me, it just, it feels like life slowed way the fuck down once I actually started paying attention to my strategy and authority. And I did so much less, even as an MG. You know, single definition MG with 7 defined centers. It became actually to the point where I'm like, oh, it's just these things that I'm on the hook to express in this lifetime. And that's all that I am. And I don't need to try to express everything, which I think that's really where the mind hooks us, is thinking that we need to express everything. And so as somebody only with 2 channels, Jas, I would think you're off the hook for a lot.
Yeah.
You know, it's all transient for you. It's all temporary.
Yeah.
And if you're really anchored into yourself, it's going to be a lot less than probably what the mind thought, you know?
I'd love to touch on radically experimenting. And I really want to talk about when you started getting into your sacral sounds, because I think that that was probably like, was it a time where you were like, oh, I am actually not saying uh-huh to hardly anything?
Hardly anything. I'm always saying, that's like my number one sacral sound. It's very rare that I'm like, and I'm up. That's more of a, my body's getting up sound. I don't have a lot of those. I have a lot of, that's a no.
Yeah.
I don't even have, it's just, no. done. I'm more of a pondering. Interesting. Okay. It's not black and white. It's not yes or no. It's not this jarring, it has to be this way, or it can't, it's not that. And I would say that I was probably 5 years into learning about my design before I actually started to make or hear my sounds. So I would say it hasn't even been 2 years of sound making. I could say I mean, if I'm being honest, an actual experiment, even though I've known about my design for 7 years, I would say my actual experiment is 2 years. Like, I actually think that the experiment should start after the learning of it, because trying to learn and experiment at the same time is too much to juggle. And we're going down all these different rabbit holes. And I think that's really good. I think that you should learn as much as you can in whatever aspect you're interested in. And then you have to like step back and then go into your experiment with the knowledge that, oh, I have a witness now that is armed and ready to call me out or call me in whenever I'm off. But to try to do it simultaneously, I wasn't actually experimenting. I wasn't giving myself the attentiveness and the care to say, okay, here's the playground, go and just listen to your sacred. No one even really, and I kind of look at it like graduating classes, when we all came online, we were all learning from each other and we were learning at the same time. I can't say without a shadow of a doubt that people were sharing their experimentation. I think people were sharing their knowledge. And I think that all helped us get to a place where we could now experiment and share the wisdom from our experimentation. And so then there's like a new class of people just sharing information on Instagram, right? Or in the internet world. And then they will then be the next class of experimentation. But the people that I see sharing information online, they're not in their experiment, in my personal opinion. They're not. You can tell by their content, they're not, because it's not embodied. They're not saying anything. They're translating. We need translations because it helps the information get to more people, and
it
the
speaks
voice
to the next class to want
exactly
to start.
exactly
It's a part of the process.
It's a part of the process, and it's so needed. But once you're in your experimentation, you're not taking in translation anymore. You're having conversations like this,
Yes.
where this is what I'm going through. This is what I'm learning, and this is the wisdom that I have. And you are kind of now sitting on the edge of the stream. You're not in the stream anymore. And so sometimes it can feel like success has slowed down, or everyone else is moving super fast because they're swimming down the stream and you're just sitting on the side, kind of drinking your little tea, just watching people go by. Yeah, Vanessa always tells me I have a sit and think design.
You do.
You do.
You definitely do. You do.
The quintessential sit and think.
When your
Sit
chart
and
was
think TM.
I've seen your chart before our podcast. I briefly looked at it, but then when Teresa put on the screen, I'm like, all I see is like meditation. I see like connected up here and connected to the ground. And so I'm like, you actually are designed to go sit in the Himalayas and
I know.
and change a collective by just doing that.
By just meditating. I know.
That's
I know.
doing. That's doing.
That is my doing. You're so right. You're so right. You're so right.
And you only have 2 gates off your sacral, so you're not responding to much. I mean, 14 power skills, K9 focus. Like you're
You're waiting on the shore.
You're responding to two things.
That's it. No, Teresa, you're so right. That's it. I've been, one of the things I've been working with, Vanessa's one of my very good friends. And so we're always experimenting, we use each other as guinea pigs. And so she's always telling me to try these different like things, go here, do this, do that. And a lot of my health issues have come from my environment, not being in the correct environment. As someone that's Shore's artificial. And Brandy and I talked about this on the
Teresa's
podcast that
also
we did.
Shore's artificial.
So cool. Okay.
She be living in a dry kitchen.
Oh my
Hey,
God.
now.
Yes.
Hey,
No, it's
now.
so true. But it's true though, because one of the things that Vanessa says is that, we'll always have a relationship to the other environment.
Absolutely.
So it will always be in our
my
whatever field.
business is kitchens. So.
Right. Exactly. So we'll always have that. But if that's all we have, then we have to start thinking about it. If you're only making stuff for other people, if you're only always in that collaborative space, if that's the majority of where you are being washed over, then you're going to feel sick. You're never going to feel like I can see beyond. Oh wow, what's out there? Or in that cloudy area. I don't have that because, again, and this is no fault of anyone, but Instagram is a kitchen. Instagram is it's a hotspot, right? And so we have our content on there. We find connections in our community on there. And so we think we have to provide, or at least I do, my shadows, like make a contribution to the kitchen. Make a contribution, create something so that you can add it to the kitchens.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this is so wrong for me. Like this is so incorrect for me to do this. I mean, I put out 4 episodes of the podcast and then my body was like, we're done. What do you mean we're done? How fucking embarrassing is what my mind says. Like, you have designed this whole 12 episode thing. You've reached out to guests. You've interviewed some of them already. Like, you have the files ready to go. We're done. Like, that's enough contribution to the kitchens there. Okay. Back to the couch I go. Do you know what I mean? It's like, what's actually going on here? Like, I thought I responded to the podcast. You did. You did. But you didn't ask us anything about how long, how many, how this, how that. You did respond. You're correct in that. And now we're done. Okay. It's just so awkward. It's like
so awkward.
Like, what the fuck? What am I supposed to do now?
Yeah.
And then you have to be brave and you have to go and tell people that you're done. And just say, I guess that's it. I don't really know what else to tell you. And then you kind of have to sit with the projection of like, are you having a mental breakdown? Are you okay? Like, what's really going on? So I would love to hear from you guys, like your environment. I'm still trying to locate mine. I'm still trying to like really calibrate to mine. I remember I was reading something that Ra was talking about, like the environment of you'll find your purpose in these specific environments and not 1 through 6. He broke down the nodal gates and described the environments of those nodal gates. And north and south node, and mine are 713 and 449. And he said, in this environment, you have to be around intellectuals, people that are constantly pushing the boundaries of how they think, how they move, how they live. Think of like Harlem Renaissance with Langston Hughes and Malcolm X and all these kind of revolutionary thinkers and that's your shore, so to speak. Because,
Mm.
I know that it's a shore, and Ra has just given these kind of explanations. So my mind is like, okay, fuse those together. Where is my shore that is also my Renaissance people? The people that are really pushing the mental boundaries, especially with a design like mine that is designed to sit and think and philosophize and just be. There isn't really much to do. It's more like you are the person that spurs the doers. You are the person that gives them these thoughts so that they can then go and take the action that needs to be changed in the collective. Kind of like what you were saying, Teresa, the integration. Like, I will integrate with people who are the activists, but I'm not the actual person that's doing it.
Yeah. Maybe you inspire doubt in the activists, and that gets them to go out and be active.
Mm-hmm.
I love environment. And when you brought in the nodes, I'm like, oh.
Oh, it's so interesting. I had a reading once, I think it was James Alexander does like not self readings, and he brought in my environment, and because he brought in view a lot, and he was talking about how like mine's a 29.4 is my conscious south node, and it just like inspired me to think about that, how for the last 10 years of my life, I really have been in an environment of watching people succeed where others fail, and watching people say yes to things, and having that like commitment to stick with the experience. And I feel like I end up just, observing that. And I almost feel like I need to take that on. And I know our node is who we are. It is part of our life force as well. So it wouldn't be incorrect to be like, oh, that is me. But I feel like it makes it easier to be you when you're surrounded by people that are like fostering that. And I can't remember who said this. Maybe it was him, maybe it was somebody else, but they were saying you are the missing piece. Like you are bringing that energy to the environment. So if you're surrounded by people, me as a 29, who are succeeding where others fail, I bring in the 29. I bring in the saying yes. I bring in that energy of committing to that so that they can keep doing what they're doing. So they might not necessarily have that, but I'm observing people doing that and I bring that in. So I thought that was a fun way of looking at it too.
Yeah, that's cool. So you are bringing in the success where others fail.
Yeah, or even just with the
around you.
Yeah, even just with the 29, it's like the saying yes to the experience, the committing to it and not knowing what's going to happen, but saying yes to it. And so I watch people do that.
Yeah. And I bring difficulty at the beginning.
I'll say, no, I'm just kidding.
I fucking do. My nodes are the same on both sides.
But you also bring mutation.
I bring mutation, and then I attract 360s.
Bees to honey, man.
It's crazy. Have you ever looked at your nodes and like looked at people that are like, come like kind of move in and out of your life?
Well, now that you guys are saying that, I just pulled up my chart. Okay, so
Isn't it funny how much we have to look at our own charts too? Like
Yeah,
we know
we
it's like like new eyes all the time. It's like, oh.
But this is the embodiment part. This is the stuff that
absolutely.
you can't make 10 slides on Instagram about this. It's not doing anything for anyone. Like you have to be with us, pull up your chart and say, okay, this is what I'm bringing, the abdicator, the point of convergence, by design, the need for leadership to guide and order society. So I'm always going to be attracting these 31s.
Oh, I guess we're looking at South Node. My South Node's 50.
50.
The cauldron.
Yeah, because
line 1 in detriment.
Right, because that's what we bring, right? And then
a dissatisfaction or embarrassment with origins that makes an obsession of refinement. That's my life. My North Node is 3. But yeah.
Yeah, because we're going into that North Node energy, but we're bringing kind of this confidence of,
This sums up a whole conversation I had today. Like, fuck, this is like the conversations I have. I'm always constantly like my own self refining things and then meeting people where they're like, here's what needs refine. And like, we're like bonding over that. And like, it's constant.
And then where does the
it's
shores
supposed to,
come in?
Yeah. Where does the
Yeah.
shores come in?
Is it, well, okay, shores transition.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's always in a transitional.
Always people that are in transition or a process that's in transition. Cause that's what I noticed too. I come into a lot of spaces or conversations with people that are in transition,
Mm-hmm.
looking to the next thing, looking beyond, wanting to push the boundary.
So keynoting, what's yours? 29.4.
Yeah, it's the gate of perseverance, the deep within the deep, persistence despite difficulties has its inevitable rewards. The wisdom to use the simplest and most direct approach to solve difficulties, the power to commit oneself to the simplest and most direct process.
So I can see that in a like people, you meet people in their transition with that. Jas,
Yeah.
what's yours? Did you say 44?
So mine's 7.4.
Oh, 7.4.
The point of convergence by design, the need for leadership to guide and order society, the willingness to accept the judgment of the people and or the rule of law, the grace and wisdom to step down for the benefit of the whole, the capacity of the self to accept the judgment of others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah,
what is it? You guys are both like, yeah,
just seeing that keynote or that description. Let me pull it out. Line 4, 7.4, the abdicator.
I feel like Ra's words
The
are like
the willingness to accept the judgment of the people and or rule of law. It's like you're meeting people when they are maybe met with that or in transition with that or moving on to the next, like they are willing to accept. Oh man, is it exalted?
You know what it sounds like the people that are okay, they're wanting to be themselves, they're wanting to step into their purpose, but their purpose doesn't look like what other people are expecting them to be or to have or to do. Because I notice a lot of the things that I say, I don't know who they're for. And then people will come to me later on and say, this thing that you said on this one live helped me get through grad school. And I'm like, okay, I did not ever think my mind never thought, oh, I'm talking to people in grad school or I'm talking to people doing X, Y, and Z. It's like, to me, it's random. To me, the things that I say are random. They're not for anyone. And they would feel that way because they're for the collective. Like, I don't know who's out there. I just know that there's a collective out there. And they're wanting to, like we're saying, transition out of where they're at, the capacity of the self to accept the judgment of others. One who must be forced from power by overwhelming opposition, the refusal of the self to accept the judgment of others. I mean, this is all this like people pleasing stuff, trying to be someone for other people, my South Node is in Leo, so it's, you're trying to be someone for everyone else instead of just who you are for yourself.
the line that stands out to me is the grace and wisdom to step down for the benefit of the whole. And I feel like even this whole conversation, like I feel like you're somebody that people project success onto, and I don't know what it is, but it's just something about you where it's just like Jas has it all figured out. And even you could be so honest about your vulnerability and things that aren't working. And people are still like, Jas is amazing. She has it all figured out. But it's like this whole conversation was you being like, I don't fucking know what
Yeah.
I'm doing. And
Yeah.
to me, it's that willingness to step down, and 7 being a alpha gate and a leadership gate. That's what we need to see from our leadership right now. Even if we're just using the human design space as an example, we need to see more people in leadership roles that are up on pedestals saying, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm in my
Yep.
experiment, just like all
Yeah.
of you, you know? And it's like, oh, okay. That gives me permission to be radical in my experiment and to not know what the fuck I'm doing either.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I love this conversation of tying it to environment, and I hope that the people that are listening to this like kind of dive in a little bit.
Yeah.
So Teresa, on yours, it's the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. When you are meeting with like I'm looking at how we're tying, when you're meeting with people, clients, or just meeting up with people, it's like you're saying, here's how we get to here the quickest. And when I look at mine, humbleness of origin that benefits rather than restricts destiny. It's this, I met with people who are like, I'm like, let's get to why that's a thing. Like a conversation that I was talking about earlier. It's like, hey, the part of you in this like that comes from here's the origin of it. I have that
And it's no
conversation
longer
with people all
needed.
the time. And Teresa's always like,
Yeah.
here's the like quickest way, you know, when she's like, when she 659's people, you know, just gets in there and it's just like this.
But the
So-
detriment, the power of directness often offends others. Which I also get met with that. That happens at my job a lot. I'm like, no, this is the quickest way. And then people get offended.
But your job's a literal kitchen.
I know.
Exactly. That's exactly it. So it's almost like when we're in the wrong environment, for example, my one who must be forced from power by overwhelming opposition.
Uh-huh.
When I am not in my shores,
Ooh.
I will be pulled down. It's like you're not on a pedestal, girl. You need to get down. And then I have to then, oh my God, reputation is always such this big paranoia that I have as a fifth line.
Yeah.
And that will only be exacerbated when I am in the wrong environment. When I am in the kitchens, it's like, no, you're not going to be the leader here in the kitchens. That's not what I've designed you to be. You're designed to be in the shores where you'll never have to be embarrassed, to be pulled down from your leadership role, to be yanked down from your captainhood. If you are in the correct environment where I put you, you'll know when it's time to share the vulnerabilities or say, I don't know what I'm doing, or I'm completely just as lost as you, or, you know, what are you doing over there? When you're in the wrong environment, you won't be able to do that. You'll always have to keep up this facade, this mask, and eventually it will crumble because people will be able to see through that. And I'm the person that will always, maybe it's the doubt in me, I will always just call myself out first before anybody else does it for me.
Yeah.
And the fact that I'm deep in my experiment to just say, okay, I knew for 2 weeks that before Brandy's episode came out, I knew Brandy's episode would be the last one. But I sat on it for 2 weeks because I was like, I don't know what I'm going to say. Like I was sold out for this thing. And now I have to come to the kitchens and say, I no longer have a contribution to make here. Like, this is the end of it. And it took me about 2 weeks because of that wide split to process what was going on and what had happened and all the not self voices in my mind that are telling me how this is the worst move ever and how you should just keep going and how you should. I was still interviewing, I was still recording, I was still, and then I went back and I was like, I can't put any of this shit out. It didn't even sound like me. And that's exactly what's going to happen, is that the work that you do post, if you try to push past that, no, it will not be a representation of you. And you will have to be forced from power by an overwhelming opposition because you decided to push past the no. And that just sucks. That's like a sucky feeling. I don't want that. I don't want that to be my life. I don't want to feel like I'm being boxed out of places that I think that I want to be in. I just want to be in places that are for me and with people that are for me. I don't want to have to fight to be heard. I'm not designed for that. I'm not, do you know what I mean? It just feels so much harder. So
Well,
I think, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and then like I see how, pushing that stuff out, being a cross of tension, we create the wrong tension or we pull the string too hard, not enough tension, too much tension. And it's like, it's this dance. And
It is.
with all of us carrying provocation, it's very interesting because we are aware of that, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm hyper aware of like, well, you're 39, but that the timing has to be good.
It's the timing and the environment.
And the environment. So like, that's
the
what I'm saying.
Environment is not correct. Yeah. Then yeah, you'll get that pushback.
Then everything. So it's like,
Yeah.
we are aware of how important timing is for our provocation, not like, and then having this awareness right here on this podcast of environment and how that's like another foundational piece of all of it.
Because if we're all shores, right, and we all have this energy of provocation, and I'll just speak from my own experience, I have found the most success when I've been on my side and other people have been on their side. And I've just shared what I'm thinking and other people were on their side. And they couldn't reach me after.
Yes. Yeah. What is that?
like this is not a
named
forum. This is not a forum. I don't actually want to hear your thoughts. You can go and process me elsewhere.
Dude, I was just thinking that the other day. I even said it on my Instagram story. I was like, I'll share something on here and then people will give me their opinion about what I shared.
No, that's not what we're doing.
About me. And I'm like, I'm so fucking deaf to it now.
She was going off on stories. She was like, I don't
care.
That. I don't care. I don't want you in my DM telling me how my struggle. I don't want your opinion.
I'm like, I'm just here to express. I'm here to dump and go.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. But then what happens is that I, feel bad. I don't know where that comes from.
Solar plexus.
Like, yeah, true. And it's like, okay, yeah, what are your thoughts about it? But then it completely takes me away from my environment. Now I'm in the kitchen. Now it's a collaborative effort. And this is not me saying my philosophies. It's not a collaborative effort. I'm already collaborating with God on the other side. So when I come to you, it's not more collaboration. It's like a dumping effect. It's there. And then I have to go because I'm an agent of, you just see me by the roadside. Oh, I don't know you. You don't know me. We don't need to exchange numbers or anything to that effect. You just, I remember this one time this random woman on Instagram was saying some things about, that's me. That's my lane. Not known, just heard.
I get this craziest imagery. I just like, it's like one night stands. Like, and like,
I met my husband on a one night stand.
And like,
how
and like,
fine of you.
Maybe like we would be the male counterpart of the one night stand. And then it's like, we just do the thing and go. And then sometimes people are like, that was the greatest thing that ever happened to me in my life. Or I have a child from this now. It's like, they come like, you say your piece and they're like initially they're like, that's not awesome. And then it was like, actually, that was really great. What you said changed my life. How, that thing that,
Yeah.
I feel like profile does play into it.
Oh, it
because
does.
Jas
that
being a
was
fifth
gonna be my
line,
next
fifth
thing.
line. I was
Yeah.
just gonna say,
Mhm.
yeah.
because
Mhm.
we are fourth lines through and through.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, you guys are fourth line, so hold on. It's like you read my mind. It's like literally you read my mind, because I was just about to say, hold on. I am a fifth line, and one of the things that actually makes me deeply sick is when I get pulled into being that one-to-one connection with the fourth line. So people hear what I'm saying, and then they're like, "Oh, I want to work with you," and I'm like, "Okay, this is the natural thing that's supposed to happen after you go and share. People like you, whatever, they want to work with you." But then I get pulled out from the road. I'm on my journey. I'm here to just deliver these little sermons wherever I'm going. And then someone saying, "Can you come back and can we do a small group together? Can we do a small Bible group?" And I'm just like, "Okay, okay, sure." And now I'm away from where I'm supposed to be going. And so then I end up in the kitchens. Again, it's like, how did I get here?
So I was listening to Jonah Dempsey talk about fifth lines earlier, and he was saying the fifth line is really meant to provide the practical solution in the moment when the person needs it. And I'm paraphrasing, so I don't remember exactly how he said this, but he was giving this example of somebody asking him for a reading when he didn't actually have the time to do it. But he was like, let me just give you something now. Like, let me just look at your chart real quick and I'll give you a little thing. And then I'll
Yes.
refer you to somebody that can actually take you on. And he's like, because in order to like protect my reputation, I need to just give them the solution now. Otherwise, they're going to be like, fuck that guy. He couldn't work with me. He didn't have anything for me. Whereas, like,
Yes.
he does have something for you. And that's why you're feeling pulled to him. But it's not necessarily going to be the thing that the person's projecting. It could just be him sending a quick video about generators that Raw recorded. And that's the solution. It doesn't even always need to be you as
From
the fifth line
him.
giving and developing a relationship with this person. Like, that's much more fourth
Yes.
line to be like, let's build a foundation together. Let's
Yes.
develop a relationship. Whereas he's just going to give you the most practical thing he can in the moment that's going to help you and get you on your way. And
Yes.
then you can go about your day. And then you'll have a good experience to reflect back on, like, oh yeah, I remember that guy. He helped me out, you know, and that's the nature of the fifth line.
Like Jas walking on the road, right? And somebody's trying to like pull her off the road and they're like, hey, come over here. I need you to help me fight this person. And you just go down to the ground, pick up a rock and hand it to him and say, use that. And then go on your way.
Here it is. It's the most practical thing. In practice is so different than just like theory and theoretical shit. And that's the key thing for fifth lines is giving something that somebody can actually take. And it's universal for a reason, because it means that most people could take that and go do something with it.
I would love to. Okay, so there's only a couple of fifth lines that I know that are coming to my mind, because if we talk about fifth lines in business or fifth lines in on the material plane, so someone is just walking down the road and they're just doing their thing and they don't even necessarily have a business set up. Okay, so some of the things I'm going to say, I have not said them out loud before, so I don't actually know how they're going to sound. This is me just working. I'm working through it in real time. So you have this fifth line and they're there to provide a practical solution. And I would kind of argue to say that maybe if you're not a conscious fifth line, you don't know the practical solutions that you have to offer. I'm not. I'm unconscious. I'm a 3/5. So I don't know the practical solutions I have to offer. So I can't necessarily build a business because I don't know what I have to offer. So I'm just kind of walking and I'm waiting for someone to ask me something. And some people do, and they ask. And then my mind says, oh, that's the thing. Let's go build a business out of that thing. But it was only for that one person. I have no idea how many or how to reach them or where I would find a copy and paste version of that person in that same situation that also needs X, Y, and Z to then go and universalize it. So there is this thing that I can feel brewing inside of me. I'm reading this book right now by this, it's a left world book. It's a book about advertising and business, but it's very interesting when you start to think about innovation, profit model innovations, and all these different things. And I can just sense that unconscious fifth lines We don't actually know what our business is.
Mm-hmm.
But the world is projecting that we should.
Yeah.
So we have one little experience and we try to squeeze that one experience and make a whole entire business from that experience, and it completely fries us, like energetically, everything. Just and now everyone thinks that we're known for that thing, or that we should be able to help them with that thing. And the truth is, I can't, because everyone is so different now. Just because I helped that one person build a purposeful, sustainable business doesn't actually mean that I can help everyone that comes.
Mm-hmm.
And so what do you do with that limbo? Well, it shows up for me. I just keep redoing my business. It's like every few months, I just like, as a third line, I'm like, okay, burn it down, build something up, burn it down, build something up, burn it down. But it's very exhausting. That's not my sustainable version. That's like my mind coming in to fix the problem that it initially made by creating a business based off of that one person on the road that was like, oh, there's this war going on, or there's this thing. And I give them a rock. And then I say, all people who are suffering with this, come and get a rock. I have rocks for sale. And like, no.
I wonder if also like the difference between like a 5-1 or a 5-2 and a 3-5 or 2-5 is you're a right angle cross.
Right.
So it's not even really like, I'm trying to think of 3-5s that I know that are not in human design that I've just been observing. Yeah. Haley, also my sister-in-law, both my sister-in-laws are 3-5s, and they do things that they like for themselves and trial and error it. And then like my sister-in-law trial and errored the shit out of like body recomposition and fitness, and then ended up eventually, like years and years later, after probably 10 years of trial and error, creating a program, basically taking like all the guesswork out of it. And it was very universal, and she got people like really good success. But she also kind of ran into the same thing you're running into, where she's like, I don't want to work with people one-on-one. I just want to like create this thing that solves the problem that I trial and errored for myself, and whoever will benefit from it will buy it. But I don't want to be like sitting here and holding hands with somebody and really like, it's just, I'm not really meant to know the people it's going to help. I think that's that piece of it. But I think it really like comes from a selfish place. It's like trial and erroring from this place of like, I want to experiment with this for myself. And it's second to actually help people with it.
I have a question for you, Jas.
Yeah.
Do you want to be an entrepreneur?
But for myself.
Yeah.
Like I am. It's an I am. It's my own identity. It's not it's not a role that I'm playing for other people to watch me. It's a role that I've uncovered within myself. And I think that's what I'm separating, distilling. What is a role that is just what I'm uncovering about myself, versus now the role and the mask that I have to go out, wear out into the world so that others can exchange life with me. I think that that's correct for some people. It's just incorrect for me.
I also wonder if third lines, like I'm married to a 3-6, and I feel like anytime he wants to do something, he has to figure it out for himself instead of like doing the same thing that somebody else did. Like he can't just, he's had role models, and he'll start something from the basis of watching somebody, and then he'll completely do it differently. And it's like, if he tries to mimic what they're doing, it doesn't work for him, because he actually has to fail in order to succeed. And so I think it can easily feel like when you're watching a third line, like, oh, they're failing, oh, they're burning it down and trying again. But it's like, that's actually the steps to success for a third line. And you
your
don't
hus-
have a role model. You can't. You have to figure it out on your own.
And your husband's sleeping Phoenix. So
Yeah.
you're just watching it double time.
God, it's so stressful to watch sometimes.
It is. It's stressful to witness myself doing that. Like, it's yikes. It's like, oh yeah. Okay. Oof.
Well, and being a third line and business being a third line venture,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you're in your own trial and erroring, and then everybody in business is experiencing there is third lining.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you asked me that. That you asked me that, Brandy. Just, I don't know if this is a true thought or not, but um, just correlating it to the conversation, all the conversations that we've had already around kind of being pulled off of my path. I would say that entrepreneurship is one of those things that pulled me off of my path after I figured out what worked for me and how I learned my design and implemented and integrated my design into my business. It was like, oh, can you do that for me? 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 And I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is my purpose. Maybe this is what I'm supposed to be doing. But actually, I was just pulled off my path. If I'm being honest, I don't think that that's what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't think that I'm supposed to be pulled off my path. I think my purpose is to stay walking forward. And anytime that I am pulled off my path, my mind makes it look like it's this great, fantastic thing because now you are part of the group. Now you're part of it, just like everybody else who has their one thing or their two or three things that they're kind of selling in the marketplace or sharing in the marketplace. And you're just like them and you're just like everyone else now. You don't have to stand out from the crowd. You're not this weirdo that's just kind of walking this empty path. When I say empty, meaning that there's not a lot of people on it, but truly my purpose is to not be taken from that path. It's that restraint that I have in 52. How can I restrain from being pulled from the path? How can I keep walking straight, keep walking forward, and just discovering whatever it is that my third line is discovering? And when I share it and people want more of it, how can I restrain from not being pulled from that to go into these kitchens? How can I stay in the shore? Because the shore is the path. The shore is the thing that's taking me beyond. Every time I walk forward, I ask a new question, I meet a new person. It's always there. It's always there. It's always there. And the time that I found my most success, like my most financial success, was it's a weird thing, and I don't know if I can ever recreate it. I think the mind is like, oh, we can recreate it. I don't think it's something that can be recreated, but I think it's something that I have to kind of step back into my path. Is I would just be talking about fucking random shit, like nothing really. To me, it's just like it's not leading you anywhere. One talk would be about this thing, another talk would be about another thing. It's not a funnel in business where you're like, I'm going to break down this topic and that's going to help you get here. And then you're going to buy my X, Y, and Z. It wasn't like that at all. It was just an array, a buffet of whatever topics that I was finding myself in that shore. And then whatever I had in my shop is what people bought. It didn't correlate to that talk. It didn't correlate to what they were going through. It had it didn't match. Do you know what I mean? But they were just like, oh, I want more of whatever is in this. And I'd be like, that's not in there. I'm not talking about that in there. And they would buy it anyway. Be like, okay, well, you're not going to find that in there.
It's so weird. I wonder if like just people just like you and they just want your frequency and whatever it is. It almost doesn't even have to be specific. Like I'm thinking about this like pop culture podcaster that I listen to, and she's also an astrologer, but she never promotes her astrology business. She just talks about pop culture and random shit, and she's hilarious. And I'm like, I want to book an astrology reading with her just because I want to hang out with her and I like her, you know? And so it's like, I wonder sometimes if it just doesn't even matter and we just overcomplicate things. Yeah.
I think that's my revelation, especially being close taste. I was listening to, I forget who who was saying something about this, but like that it should be really hard for people to reach close taste people.
Yeah.
Like if you make it super hard, super easy for people to reach you, um, you don't get to filter out and taste if that's even something that you want to have like a full meal of. And it's 1000% true. It's like I, as a close taste person, I've always read it as thinking that I'm better than other people because that's what people projected onto me. Oh, you think you're better than other people, or you think you're better than me, or you think you're better than X, Y, and Z. And it's like, no, I just really don't like that thing. It has nothing to do with you or the group that we're part of.
Because you're also fear motivation. I think
Yep.
that may have
Looked
been
at that.
Steve Rhodes' work that somebody got that from. I mean, it could have just been their own interpretation of closed taste, but because closed taste is color in Steve Rhodes' work, it basically, like to sum it up, he says that when you're that color, you are like basically ultra sensitive to
Yes.
others, and that exactly what you said, you should be unreachable. I've heard the example of Teal Swan. She's fear motivation, and
So
she
funny. I was just like doing a deep dive on her like 2 days ago. I
she's
was like, why am I
fascinating.
here? What am I? What?
So she just in this example, she's like surrounded by yes men or yes people. And I've gone to her retreat, and so I've seen this, and all of the people that work for her are just like, yes, whatever you say, you know, they don't push back at her. And that, I know we could see that and say that's a cult or something wrong with it, and there are her own twisted things going on there, but just from a pure mechanical perspective of that is correct for a fear motivation person to not be getting pushback from other people and to just be like, oh, cool, you're teaching me about what you learned. I'll take it or leave it, but I'm not going to like push back at you. And to almost be just surrounded by people who are curious about what you have to say versus challenging what you have to say. And I feel like the kitchen of social media is this space where everybody feels entitled to their perspective and to share their perspective with you. And yeah, you can block them and whatever, but you're still going to see the message. And it's just, and I even have thought, you know, yeah, if you're going to put yourself out there on social media, you have to be prepared for that. That's just a part of it. But is it correct for people? I've heard of celebrities be like, yeah, I don't allow myself to look at my social media. Like I literally hire somebody who looks through it all for me. I don't look through it. So I have a presence on there. And I'm like, that's kind of ideal for somebody who is like first or second color in this example of like, you could still have a presence somewhere, but you don't have to actually receive any of it.
Yeah. And on top, oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No. Go ahead, Brandon.
Oh, on top of that, you're designed to challenge. I mean, multiple parts of your design speak to this. You're designed to challenge the status quo. You're designed to share about your challenges, not to be challenged.
Yeah, that resonates hard. It's so funny because I even feel like cringe even saying this. So maybe it's
Say it.
I know.
That's when you say it. Say it.
When I would see people do that, like their team or someone would answer for them, man, you should have heard my husband hears all of this. I would just be like, who do they think they are? They don't have time to just fucking respond, to just like a message, to just be available for that thing. And he, my husband's market, so he's like always bringing me stuff to like filter through. I'm like, no, I don't like that. I don't like that. And he's like, okay, so you really have like an issue with this. And I just think it's so rude. Like what, they don't have a moment in their day to just respond to that person that's thanking them or being so grateful or whatever the thing is. And he was like, I think you should do that. I was like, do what? He's like, I think that you should have someone to respond to all of your comments and all of your messages and all your things. And I said, I would never do that. I think that's just so rude. And he just started doing that for me now as our community manager. And I have so many feelings about it. So many, maybe I should say thoughts, It's like my mind has so many thoughts and so many, it just doesn't like it. It thinks it thinks that I'm such a rude person. It thinks that I'm so ungrateful. It thinks that I am so holier than thou. It thinks that I don't want to be in connection with other people. Actually, it's not even my voices. It's all the things that people have said to me when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
They're not actually my thoughts. You think you're smarter than me? You think you're better than me? You're not. You're just like everybody else. You're no different than anyone else. And I never had those thoughts about myself. I never was walking on air and thought, oh, I'm better than everyone. Oh, I'm smarter than everyone. Those thoughts never came to my mind because I was so fixated on what I was doing that I never really considered if other people were watching me, to be quite honest. It was only when those people broke through that field and let me know that their presence was known. I never looked up and thought about them, but they thought about me. And now that projection or that thought that they so rudely integrated into my awareness is the thing that plays and plays and plays and plays and plays every time I go to live my design, which is to be application only, I don't respond to DMs. Yeah, it might be Alex doing that. It's like, it makes you want to just gag. It's just like, is that me? Is that not me? And that's where I think it's so valuable to learn from people like you guys who are not only translating human design, but are embodying it and speaking to multiple people who have stories that you can share. Oh, no, that's actually what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to get pushback. If anyone is giving you pushback, that person's not for you. And also, doesn't that smell of kitchens? This is not a collaborative effort. Like, this is not I'm not needing you to tell me what's going on here. I'm just telling you what's going on here. Okay.
And how it could be better.
Exactly. And how it could be better. And it's so funny, Teresa, that you bring up Teal Swan, because the video I was watching of her was like, someone was saying that she's like a cult leader. And I'm not going to lie, that's one of my biggest fears, is that someone would say that I'm a cult leader. Watch that. And I was like, okay, I could see all these things. And yet, if you, as the person intaking her content, don't have discernment, whose fault is this now?
Yeah.
It's Teal's fault, or it's the person that just was like, I'm following you everywhere. I'm listening to everything that you're saying. I'm going to drink whatever you drink. Why are we not asking about that person? Why is it now suddenly Teal's fault that she's the cult leader?
I think this like modern age of internet gurus, we don't know what to do with it. So we just label it cult leader because it, like, as somebody who did used to consume her content and has learned from her and met her in person and done her whole spiel, I've gone through different waves of evaluating it and different feelings about it, as I should as an emotional being. And I've always kind of come back to that of like, I still had my own authority throughout that whole process, and she was not holding my feet to any fire. And I wasn't a part of her like inner circle or whatever she calls it. So I don't know what that experience is actually like, because I think some of the people that have come out and like spoken out have been from her inner circle. But I also engaged with those people, and it seemed like they could leave whenever, and I don't know. Again, like, it's complicated, but I see what you're saying. It's I think when people don't understand maybe somebody's ecosystem that they've kind of created, and I think when you know her design and you look at it through mechanics, it does make sense. She's a reflector. She's 4/6. It makes sense for her to want to be in community and kind of be surrounded by her people that are taking care of her. And she is vulnerable, like she would walk around with like 3 bodyguards all around her, and I'm like, maybe that's ideal for a reflector. I don't know, with fear motivation, that it's Yeah, I think that's like a super
Wow.
common thing for those of us who are online personas and are teaching or whatever to be worried about that now because
Well,
it's so commonly just thrown around. Like, I mean, I've heard people saying human design is such a cult, like da da da.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I'm
how
like,
is a
well, our
system
leader is dead.
and how is a system that promotes you having an inner authority instead of looking at an outer authority a cult? But like I can see how humans can turn it into that kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. But yeah.
So whose fault
it's-
is that? It's just like, no, don't blame Teal. I'm sorry. I'm just, yes,
You're
there
a
are
teal
some
apologist.
suspicious. You know what? After one video, I was like, look, she's not going down like that. I don't know anything about her work, but I'm sorry,
This
that's
is
not
not it.
okay.
I
It's
I
not
was
it.
I was at Teresa's house last week and was interviewed by Rolling Stone
Mm,
about somebody. And I don't know what they're doing with this, but this woman that was interviewing me sounded like she was digging for
mm,
like dirt on this person. And I know this person's design, and this person is living their design, and he happens to be a 5/1 projector. And I was just, she's like, well, did anybody have to like, was this psychedelics forced upon anybody or whatever? I'm like,
mm,
no, everyone can do whatever they want. And everybody,
mm,
like everybody can make their own decisions. And if they can't, then they're
mm.
lacking discernment. It has nothing to do with this person that you're interviewing me about.
And you know what? If we can pause on human design for a second and just talk about discernment as a human being, like, okay, so
Absolutely.
all these spiritual teachers, or anyone, it doesn't even have to be spiritual, anyone that's teaching anything, and their desire, I assume, would be to reconnect you back to some truth that you're harboring within yourself that you're too afraid to see for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If everyone that was a viewer went in with that same shared understanding that this person is here to just reconnect me, and once I'm done getting whatever it is that I need from them, I can move on to another teacher, move on to another space.
Mm-hmm.
There would be no need for all of this, like, this person is a cult leader, this person. No, that's your fault. No, that's you. Why aren't you asking any questions in
Right.
your own true self, saying, am I done with this? Am I
Because
done?
the person that they're following, what I just saw was a bunch of people sitting in a university listening to a teacher.
Hmm.
And so what I just got from that was like, they can go on and choose another class. And that's, look, that's okay. There's no like cult of, studying a certain thing. They pick a class, they move on for it. Nobody's judging them. But when people like lean into different teachings, they're like instantly like, no, what if I'm going to go to this class and then I'm going to go to this class and then I'm going to have this teacher and then I'm going to have this teacher. But there's some people that only want that teacher. And so because there are those, I think anybody who follows any certain teachers, they're like,
I think about like the Twin Flames universe, for
I
example. I don't
know.
know
I
if you
see
saw
that
that.
video popped up. It popped up
Yeah.
on recommended because I watched that last one.
see, the algorithm is algorithming, and they're
Yeah.
like, oh,
Because I've gone back and forth with that because I'm like, yeah, they were clearly like spouting some crazy shit, but it's like I go back and forth with seeing these people as
they
victims and then seeing it
weren't
as like you
really.
gave them money willingly on
I
the
know.
internet. Like you could have just closed your computer and been like,
Okay,
I'm not doing this anymore.
Here's what it is. It's preying on
Yes.
people's
Right,
vulnerabilities
right,
100%.
yeah.
versus
Mhm.
empowerment,
Which Teal Swan has done that. Like her YouTube algorithm is fucking genius for preying on people who are in really dark places and even suicidal. And so I think that's
Yeah, I
where the
saw that.
ethics come into play is like
Yeah.
people questioning her ethics is you're preying on people who are literally suicidal. And
Right.
I mean, but then it's like my own morals and ethics.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, human design is not even a moralistic system. And somebody living their design and living whatever could be completely against my morals and ethics, my personal ones.
Question though. So if we say that she's living her design and she is preying on people, is there a design for preying on people?
I don't know, man.
No, I don't know.
I don't know.
I think what I feel into is there's people that feel empowered when people live their design, and they want to feel, they want to live like that, because like, I was on the side of a cult, like Teresa was on the side of Teal Swan, Bentino Mazzaro. And so pulling up his chart, he's just living this fucking design. And he's he's living him, and people are feeling empowered around people who, so there's that responsibility piece that we have, where people want that. I want that. It's like a drug, right? When you're just living as you, and they're like, I want to work with you because I want to live as you. I want whatever you're selling. I want whatever you're putting out because I see you living as you. It's like, well, I'm not, you're not me.
Right. So whose job is it then? Is the cult leader's job to say no to that person? Is it like in Teal's experience, is it whoever's doing the algorithm? Is she to say to that person on her team, no, guys, I don't think that's cool. Let's not do that. I don't like that. Is the person that's doing the algorithm in their design, are they like coming up with an idea that's like, oh, this is how we could push X, Y, and Z? Because if human design isn't moralistic, we are the ones that are carrying the morals within us. Then are we pushing back against human design? Is this like a bi-directional experience or relationship where human design is saying, okay, it's all mechanics, and then you guys are the humans with these mechanics and saying, okay, you humans have feelings and you have morals and you have ethics, and now you're pushing back against a mechanical system that's saying, okay, as much as she is living her design as a reflector, we think these things are fucked up, so change them.
Right.
And then, so does she then change her? Is that conditioning now, saying, okay, well, we're now conditioning her to no longer be the full expression of her chart?
Yeah, I wonder. I mean,
no longer doing that.
I kind of look at it like I don't actually know whether somebody is living their design or not. My mind can,
we can look at their design and say, I can see how.
I mean,
see,
we can draw those parallels and conclusions. And even
Right.
her conscious son is called the prophet. And that is what that like, that's literally the 12.4. That's what the line is called, the prophet. So to me, I'm like, okay, well, but I do
flavors of it.
Yeah, there's flavors of that. And yeah, I wonder what we mean when we say that person's living their design or not. And I also look at it. Yeah.
That's an exalted word of speech that we use.
Yes,
like
it
that
is.
person's
It
living
is.
their design.
Yeah.
It's like a
and people
compliment.
also use it as and they use it as an excuse. I'm living my design, so fuck off.
I'm just living my design.
Exactly. There it is. You just called it. That's exactly it. We can bypass with our fucking design.
But what are we bypassing?
Like
the morality.
Yeah, and responsibility.
Is everybody supposed to have morals?
I don't know. Because Ra would say some people, it's correct for them to be serial killers.
I don't know. I mean, this is where we can get real twisted.
Well, I don't know if it's twisted, or I don't know if it's just witnessing the Maya.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we need something to play in the background. Like, we're not just going to sit here and just do nothing. Like, we need things to happen in this game, in this movie. That's why we're here. We're all acting in this whole thing. But if there's no props, there's no storyline, there's no antagonist, there's nothing here. That's not a story. That's not lifing. Life isn't just always positive energy and
100%.
No, we need death. We need darkness. We need, and I think that's why I said the flavors thing, because darkness is not the void.
Right.
When we say evil, evil is not the void. Evil is not darkness. Darkness, evil, the void, they're all different, opposing values of this dualistic nature that we live in. And so it's us that get to enjoy the depth and the textures of those, like the differences in that. So it's like, yes, we need serial killers. Oh my God, Jas just said we need serial killers. Okay, well, what would we do if we didn't? Oh, wait. Like, what's the action? You don't get to spring up into your activism. You're dormant. Whatever goodness is lying within you, it doesn't come out to express. So most people always say, oh, there's a meddling God. It's not meddling anything. It's a storyline. It's a director. Imagine if you wanted to write an Oscar-winning movie. I'm sorry, something has to happen in that.
Right.
What are we just going to stare at the blank screen? There's no acting. There's no turmoil. There's no sadness. There's no depth of life actually being expressed and portrayed. That's not a movie. That's nothing. That's nothingness. And we're here on earth that's devoid of nothingness. It's like the opposite of nothingness. That's all the things at once, which is why we're learning how to harness all this action with inaction and say, okay, let's rest. Let's be regulated. Let's, X, Y, and Z.
Funny that we're talking about teal, because one thing that I really remember of her saying is she hates seeing suffering. And so like her mission is to end suffering, but she knows that's not possible. And so it's like, even, when we think of teal wouldn't be stepping into her quote unquote purpose if it weren't for suffering, because her mission is to end suffering, and it's like, we need, that's what a prophet would do. Right. It's so fascinating. And I feel like I kind of want to tease apart like the whole living their design thing. Because I feel like when I say that, I'm like, I'm saying it from a place of what my mind understands, what my mind can comprehend their design as. But I also see it as, is this person meeting a lot of resistance in their life or not? And I don't think anybody is ever designed to not meet any resistance, But when I see somebody in the public eye that's meeting a ton of resistance a lot, that's where I get curious, where I'm like, I wonder if they are, quote unquote, living their design. And again, it's just feedback. It's just information for ourselves in our own process, and pondering resistance versus not.
I guess when I say that and I look at somebody from afar, I can see the mechanics, and I can see how mechanically that makes sense.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It's just like, I can see why that person is viewed that way. I can see why this person interacts with people that way. I can see how they have that position of where they're at, because I can see the mechanics of their design, but I don't know how they're living it. As far as like the flavor, sometimes there's way too much salt in the soup. I don't know. I haven't tasted their soup.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that is a deeper lesson just around God. And this resistance that we have to oneness, to source, to expansion, that's like, it's not moral. God's not moral. It just is there. And the more that we witness more of that, that quote unquote regulates us to be with God. That's not moral. Because right now I feel like a lot of the resistance that people have with an idea of God, and especially not seeing themselves as God, is they see themselves as less than, below, sinful, all the things that are conditioned and projected upon. So they live a life that's apart from the fullness of who they've been created to be and experience on this plane or in any plane. But if we see someone and we watch someone like Teal, and we're not saying that everything that she's done is amazing and great, because even amazing and great, even descriptive words are moralistic now. They start getting into preference.
Yes.
Right.
So we're not talking about preference now. We're just talking about what is existing and what is not existing. And if you were designed to exist as God, God's not saying that you're wrong when you X, Y, and Z. It's just saying you're not existing as God. So what would that look like if you did do that. And I think we're actually so far away from that, if I'm being honest. Like, I think we are so far away. Like when people talk about like Judgment Day and stuff, I'm like, you don't have to worry about that for a minute. Okay, we're so far away. I don't even believe in that because I don't believe that there's anything to judge. But let's say that there's just not enough stuff that's been created in truth and godness for there to even judge anything. I think there's just so much fear and so much scare. Like everyone's so scared to like be their fullest expression, that there's nothing to judge. There's not even enough. There's not enough creations. There's not enough works of art. There's not enough books that have been written. There's not enough thoughts that have been thought to even then say, let's even say there is a God in the sky that's ready to judge. There's just not enough to judge. And we all know that feeling where you're just like, I can't say if that's right or wrong. I don't have enough information.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, there's just not enough. So
Mm-hmm.
instead of us being so focused on, actually, maybe it's not instead of, I guess the question that I would pose for all of us is, what are we focusing on? Because I was going to say, instead of us focusing on if she's doing the right or wrong thing, Brandy kind of brought it into like, oh, okay, that person is just mechanically doing their thing. That makes me feel okay. As soon as you say that makes me feel, now you're in morals. Now you're in ethics. Now you've jumped the line, as opposed to just witnessing what this entire Maya is.
Yep.
Okay, that's a teal swan. That's a prophet.
Yeah.
That's a this. You're just naming the thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're just going about your day naming, not preferentially. Oh, I like that and I don't like that. Because as soon as that happens, what happens? More Maya is created,
Yeah.
more war, more dissonance, more rejection, less love. That's actually what's breeding that. Our preference is what's breeding more of the film to keep going, which is fine. It's not a big deal. But if we all are talking about the peace and
Mm-hmm.
we want love, we want unconditional love, it's just, okay, that's a pen.
Well, you know why that is so difficult for people to do is because it's difficult to name things within themselves.
I am that thing too. I am
Because
that thing.
it's difficult to name the thing because when you shine light on it, you name it, you're giving it a place. And that's uncomfortable. That's what I've learned through like solar plexus deconditioning. And I say that in no way have I fully deconditioned or will I ever fully decondition my solar plexus, but that's one of the lessons that I've learned is
Giving
naming
it a
it.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
That's powerful.
it
though.
is.
Yep.
Like giving things a place and not
Yeah.
just rejecting them.
Yeah.
I mean,
Or
no, that's
pushing them
fucking
down or
huge.
just like,
Yeah.
let's just keep that door shut. No, open the fucking door and name it. What is that right there? Let's just name it and call it out right here as it is. They can't do that out here and like witness it because they can't do it in here. And once you can do it in here, it gets easier and more comfortable to sit back and watch the movie and say, oh, that scene is like this, oh, that character, interesting.
Exactly. Interesting.
Interesting. That's my favorite word. I say it all the time. It's like you can use it for anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be judgy. It could be not judgy.
I think
Actually be deeply loving.
I think all of us with 58 without 18 were like,
Yeah.
interesting.
I feel the pressure to correct, but I don't know what needs to be corrected, so I'll mind my own.
And I'm just
my
gonna
business.
say interesting instead of saying anything else.
All will reveal in good time.
Exactly, it will. It always does, doesn't it?
It always does. Like, that's not my circus.
I can save myself. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Not my
unless some hanging 18 comes in here and we link up.
Wow, that would be so interesting.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why we have the joy bit of it. We don't have
Yeah.
the correction, we have the joy.
You're so right. But then when it's that like pressure
Yeah.
to do
Mm-hmm.
the correction bit,
Mm-hmm.
the joy gets lost.
Mm-hmm.
I think Richard Rudd is calls it, is it disappointment or
Mm.
dissatisfaction? I think it's like the only one that the shadow is the same, the reactive and the
Oh.
repressive. Out of all the gene keys, I think it's dissatisfaction or just disappointment, something to that effect, where it's like it's just a lack of joy. It's just like, oh,
Yeah.
like you're not seeing that it can be interesting. I don't know what the answer is,
Mm-hmm.
but it can be interesting. It's one of the things I was telling my husband a few days ago. I had this epiphany that's like, I'm always telling people what's not working, but I cannot tell them what would work for them.
Yeah.
And it's like, who would want that? Who genuinely is coming out and saying, I want someone to tell me all the things that are wrong in what it is that I'm doing.
One of the
Very
things
rare.
I've noticed with that gate is when I'm feeling like joyless or trying to like capture my joy or reconnect to my joy or refine my joy, I actually don't have to do anything. It's more what I notice, what I'm not doing, and I'm not like laughing
Yes.
or dancing or just being silly. And then I can see that it's because I'm trying to correct so many things.
Yeah.
And I'm just being who I'm not. And then I just notice. Because I go to try to find joy. It's like joy with, I think, I can't fucking remember what's in my chart. Maybe it's in Neptune.
Yeah. As in my Neptune and unconscious Saturn.
Yeah. So it's like veiled.
Mhm.
And I'm like, where the fuck's the joy? Oh, it's because I'm too busy trying to correct things and that I'm not allowing the joy in. And so I've just noticed over this past like week and a half, I've been like laughing more and being silly and goofy, and I was dancing in the shower, and and I'm just like, there it is, because I'm not trying to correct anything.
Simple things.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's fucking exhausting sometimes though.
Mm-hmm.
This the whole thing. And it's like, even though we have a manual that's there, it still doesn't tell you exactly what to do.
Mm-hmm.
You still have to like
Embody
go,
it.
yeah, live, be
Embody.
engaged.
There's meant to be mystery in
Mhm.
it. It was created by a 61.3.
Yeah.
I think a 0.3. I don't know why I know that, but I mean,
We all know the most random shit about Ra.
I know.
So.
I just remember, I know he has that. And I think there's there's supposed to be mystery. There can't be all of the answers.
No.
Ra
Otherwise,
didn't even
what's the
know
point?
how to give us the manual that we have without fucking walking forward and 2 steps back and then keeping that 4 steps forward and 2 steps back in print. And so we're like, but you
In
said,
print, I know.
and then and then we turn left, but you said don't ever turn left. But now you're saying that you can only turn left around the circle, but you've never mentioned a circle before. So you're
And
like,
he also famously said that he has so much that he can't give us, that human design was like a fraction of what he was given. And I also think about that, like, there has to be that mystery there. Like, we can't know everything he was given.
And we'd probably know more about Teal Swan if he didn't pass away so soon, because he was about to release a bunch of shit about reflectors.
Oh no.
So other reflectors are like, shit, we really gotta figure this out ourselves.
Yeah, they do. But see that, but that is part of the Maya too.
Yeah.
If Ra did that, where would the rally of the reflectors that we see online and offline?
Yeah.
They wouldn't exist.
100%.
He needed to leave that in order for them to say, well, get your ass up and you're gonna have to figure out how to do this, because I was not here in this entire lifetime to explain those things. And now the reflectors feel a sense of empowerment and contribution and part of the group and part of the community that they otherwise wouldn't have.
Such a good point.
I have a 3-5 reflector sister. So watching her like 3-5 reflectorness, I'm just like,
yeah. Like her life now has deeper meaning, more than maybe on the surface we would have seen, because that information is not there. And it's so intelligently designed that we couldn't even try to plan those things. It just happens, and then we say, I kind of see how that, or why that happened, or I kind of see why that character had to leave in order for the multitude of characters to come up to the plate. It's beyond comprehension. It's beyond. And if we can just accept it as that and say that has a place there, like you said, Brandy, incomprehensible awareness has its place, just as comprehensible awareness has its place. But they can't be trying to do each other's job. Right. It's like, just because we now have awareness, we shouldn't just say, oh, I know everything, or I'm the prophet of whatever. It's like, no, I'm the prophet of this one little thing that I have dominion over. And then when I die, someone else will come and say the exact opposite of everything that I said, to create more confusion in the collective so that more people can find their empowerment, their voice, their way. And it's just going to go on and on and on until one day it doesn't.
1000%.
How is it so easy to accept that with other establishments? Is what I'm wondering now, is because we see that in like in medicine, you know, that like, eat this root. No, don't eat that root. It'll poison you. You know, take this herb. No, take this pill. And we're okay with that. We're, you know, for the majority of the collective, it's like witnessing that. It's okay with that. In certain systems, like in design, when people come in and say, hey, and then people are like, no, we only eat that root. Why are we so okay with allowing that in certain systems and not others?
All I know is if Raw were alive today, he would be canceled like every day.
Yeah. 1000%.
He'd be getting canceled every other day.
He cancels himself like sometimes.
He's dead and he's getting canceled.
That's legacy. Okay.
Yeah.
100%.
Not many people can do that. and it almost feels like the canceling, or the whatever cancel culture that we have, is we're basically saying we don't have a place here for that. It's solar plexus stuff. Like, we don't have a place here for that. We're not accepting that. That's not allowed here. And this utopia that we're building, that's not here. And it's like, okay, but you're just creating more of the same now. You're creating more Maya.
I was just going to say, I feel like we cancel, quote unquote, people who are mutative, that are trying to bring a mutation. Michael Steinbeck Litvin tweeted something about when people say something is tone deaf, they're actually trying to prevent a mutation.
Yeah.
And I say tone deaf all the time. So I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I got to think about that for a minute. Like, what if that person that we're calling tone deaf is actually just highly mutative?
It is, because how are we going to get there? How are we going to get to the other side of the shore if we're in the same boat, just paddling? There's literally no direction. There's no lightning in the sky. There's nothing. We're just out here on the deep, dark blue seas. And we all want to get somewhere. Everyone wants to have this miraculous experience, this, wow, I can't believe that God exists or doesn't exist, or whatever the thing is. But yet we're cutting down every single opportunity that could get us there.
Yep.
Just by canceling someone. It's like, okay, well, cancel me then. I mean, you're the one that's going to be left behind. That's really what's happening, is that the people that are canceling will be left behind because they don't have the capacity to stretch into the vastness of where they came from. They're so afraid to return home. They're so afraid to be met with, like you said, Brandy, to name the things that are within themselves.
Mm-hmm.
To say there is a space for you here. There's space for you, serial killer here. There's space for you here, the person that always wants to go to war. There's space for you, the person that always wants to give up their last dollar for another person. Because it's not just nuance, like that's just okay, fine, nuance and conversation, but it's multi-dimensional. It's like, can we even comprehend what that means? I know we always say, oh, I'm a multi-dimensional being, blah, blah, blah. But I'm talking about, let's even just use musical notes. Okay, so we have all the white keys and we have all the black keys. And then there's sounds in between the black and white keys that are not on the piano that they have found, that researchers have found, like upwards of 250 plus or 300 overtones, they're called, that you can't actually play on the piano.
Wow.
But they exist.
Mm.
It's like, and you're trying to tell me that I'm canceled? what are you talking about?
Silly humans, you can't cancel God.
Like what's really going on?
until it benefits them, and then if it
Right.
benefits, until something benefits somebody,
Right.
or they can
But
benefit from it.
but we wouldn't know of it if it's not beneficial.
Right.
Rupert Sheldrake talks about the morphogenetic field
Mm-hmm.
and us having access to things. Do you know how many? It's kind of, I mean, I guess it would be similar to the Akashic records in my humble opinion. I don't know too much about the Akashic records, but the things that we have access to are things that we need now or that we will need. That's why we have access to them. There's so many things that we don't have access to.
Mm-hmm.
So if we have access to knowing 250 plus overtones, it's our job to figure out why, for what reason. Is it going to heal something? Is it going to cure something? Is it going to make something easier? That's where we should turn on our intelligence and say, why is this here right now? Why do I need to know this right now? What's the meaning of it appearing in my life today? Not yesterday, not 2 weeks ago, but today, right now. That's the only thing that I think that we really need to use our intelligence for, instead of rejecting it, saying, why is this here right now? Why do we need overtones? Is there language streaming down to us from other planets that we cannot translate because we're not masterful at hearing these overtones? And so we're missing all types of information of aliens or whatever that are trying to help us, but we can't even translate what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
It's blowing my mind.
The shunning, like what I'm thinking about, like to really like simplify, because I always think about how I
Yeah.
could explain something that it's like
Yeah.
everybody can only see black and white, and then
Mm.
somebody comes along and it's like, I can see these other things. I can see the spectrum of these bright, colors, and they're different, and everyone's like, no, we don't need that. We are fine this way.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's like, well, maybe you won't need to see them, but I will.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mhm. And circling back to like not judging others because of what they have access to,
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
what they're speaking about they have access to. It's like, cool, might need that. It's up for your own discernment to decide if you want to engage in that and if you need to have access to that. Only you know that.
And so
Right.
maybe that's the level of awareness that maybe is not the goal, I should say, but is what we're here for, which is to discern, is Teal Swan here for you or not? Because she's here for somebody.
Right.
She wasn't created for nothingness. So if you have a problem with her 3 bodyguards, or you have a problem with her yes men, or you have a problem with her, then she's clearly not for you. Keep it moving.
Yeah.
But it's
Keep
not
it
about
moving.
preference. Yeah, but it's not about preference. It's not about tearing down. It's not about, go, I have given you so much energy, God's saying. And that's what you want to do with it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't want to go and do the thing that is for you. You want to go and pull down the thing that's not for you. You don't think that I've given other people energy to pull down those things because that does feel good for them? You don't think that I have created every inconceivable path forward? Now you think that you should be the one to go and do the thing, even though that's not what I created you for.
Mm-hmm.
Why? I've already created people to pull down Teal Swan if it needs to get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
You're not one of those people. So keep it moving.
Because of preference.
It's preference, because of preference.
And then not being you, or not being afraid, and being afraid to be you, and circling back to that quote of, who or what are you not inviting into your life or allowing into your life by not being you?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Too busy over here being distracted. And as generators, we know what happens. I mean, our aura, if we're over here, our aura is, magnetic, and it's huge and magnetic, and we're pulling things in to respond to. But if we're over here and we're distracted, we're not able to respond to things that are that are actually for us. If we're out there just initiating the shit out of everything, we are not available to respond to the things that are meant for us, that are on our trajectory. And then we get fucking frustrated.
And sick.
And sick. So we get in our environments.
Yeah.
Then there's
come back to the shore.
Come back to the shore.
Yeah,
then there's
come
the
back to the shore.
opportunity. Then there's the opportunity. So what you're telling me, Raw, is that Jas, Teresa, and I just need to go sit on a beach and be in our, in our passive bodies. And
but that's actually what's happening right now. We're all in our shores.
Yeah, we
we're
are
on our own sides. We're watching each other.
Yep.
We're moving beyond.
That's
on
why
multiple worlds at once.
I'm getting so I'm inner vision in my environment, and so that's why I keep I'm seeing a university.
I noticed that.
I'm
seeing.
Yeah. You're feeling in your environment, and so is Teresa.
And it's nice because no one's home. And some of the things I do, some of the ways I study human design is I do the opposite of what everyone is doing and what was taught to me. So I'll go and listen to all the fives and apply it to my shores feeling. I'll be like, oh, I need low sound in my environment. I need we just had Silent Day here in Bali, and the entire island is silent, no lights, no movement. Even the Muslims, it's a Hindu practice, but everyone observes it and respects it. And last night I had the most vivid dreams because everything was so quiet. Like, even the things that you think you're not hearing in the distance, my body is hearing it. And last night was the first night that I didn't hear any of those things in the distance.
That sounds like heaven.
It was actually heaven. But you know what? I woke up this morning and my body hurt so bad. It was like a sleep. It was like a rock sleep. You know, when you're just inside of the sleep.
Yeah.
It's not a restful sleep. You're just in it. You're just stuck in it. And you wake up and you're sore. I'm like, what just happened? It was a deep, deep rest that I think I needed. And honest to God, I would not be on this call right now if I didn't see your email, Brandy, that said, oh shit, I forgot to send you the Zoom link. I saw it and I was like, oh my God, I got to get out of bed.
Well, at the beginning of this call, you looked like you had a sleep.
I did. I was still in it. I was very much in it. And I noticed that I am not, my body doesn't feel good in loud spaces. And then when I was studying feelings, acoustics, sound, low sound, it was like, okay, so I need a shore that is low sound. Even though I know it's like, okay, it's determination. That doesn't work with, okay, but hold on, because there's some things that are happening that my body is liking. I don't like. And I'm always telling my kids to keep it down. And a part of me feels bad because obviously like they're kids and, you know, they're doing their own thing. And my daughter's actually high sound. And so whenever she eats, I just give her headphones because she likes to listen to stories, Disney stories, and all these different things. But I can't hear it. I can't, it like makes my body crawl. So I'll go upstairs if they want to listen and they eat dinner by themselves. And then when I was talking to Vanessa about it, and she was like, because you can literally pick up the frequencies in the room, not just sound, but like the walls. I always say this and people just look at me crazy. I'm like, can you hear that in the walls? It's like electricity.
Oh no, I know exactly what you're
Oh,
talking about.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, it's so loud. How can you just kind of go about your day? But it's no one's in the house right now. And I just feel so safe and that I can actually like lock in with you guys and have this conversation where we can go leaps and bounds beyond where we first started. And that's what I need. Just realizing that that is what I need. That is my environment, my
Yeah.
intellectual environment. That if I am going to be in a kitchens, because we've now created a kitchens environment here, even though we're all shores, we're here like collaborating and creating something together. It this is the standard of it. Like it has to be this, or it can't be any. It just it can't be. It just it has to be me by myself on my shore, doing my heretical thing, and then leaving.
So you're like, what I just saw is like trial and erroring what you're like finding your standards, like third lining, and then universalizing your standards.
Yeah.
And then people are going to be like, who the fuck does she think she is?
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Can have those standards.
It's true. My
The
husband tells me
shores
that
is
all
the
the
king and
time.
queen, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh
The
yeah.
shores
Yeah.
is the king and the queendom.
Yeah.
That's
It
what
is.
like we're the royalty.
We're the
We've
royalty.
made it to the
Yeah.
retirement.
Yeah.
So
I
people are always
mean,
gonna think that.
that's fine though. That's preference, right?
Yeah.
One of the things I always say is that I don't really care if you like my work. Did you engage with it? Because to tell me that you like it or that you don't like it, that's not a compliment to me. That's lazy. I need you to engage with it and then tell me that really fucking triggered me. And I don't think I'm going to listen to that again. Amazing. I'm so happy for you that you have that insight.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? That's so much more satisfying to me than I don't like that.
Yes.
I don't care. Like that's not anything to me. You didn't engage. You weren't present for it. You didn't, there was nothing that you had to give. You didn't offer anything on the altar. You just took, and then now you think that you have the right to say something about it? No.
Fucking
You didn't make an
preach.
offering. Like you got to come with an offering and say, this was my time I spent. And I didn't like that Jas said X, Y, and Z, or because it did this to me. I like that. I'll engage with that person now on my level.
Yep.
We can now have a conversation and say, you know what? I'm a just provoking ass person. So I totally get that that's how you felt. and exactly. We just kind of like leave it at that. There's no hard feelings. There's no, I'm going to stand on my side and you're going to stand on your side and we're going to war about it.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't need that.
We don't need to fight
any more of that. Yeah. We don't need, and then you guys just took me off the hook. It's like, okay, people are challenging me. Those are not my people.
Keep your circle small.
I would much rather hear people say that triggered me than give me a compliment.
That's a 39 if I've ever heard one.
Yeah.
Because what you're saying is that evoked emotion in me.
Yes.
That helped me find a deeper truth for myself, whether or not they liked it.
Yes. That made me feel something.
It made me feel something.
Like a dopamine, like that felt good. That felt good. And I'm like, no, feel something.
What did it make you feel?
What did it make you feel? And then tell Teresa about it because she has the emotional capacity for it. And I don't.
absolutely. And you know what? 9 times out of 10, the response I get is that it made me feel like I'm far away from God.
Mm,
It made me
Um,
feel like I'm not spiritually attuned, or I'm not in my spiritual abundance, which is at 55.
mm-hmm,
It's
mm-hmm,
like provoking you into spiritual abundance. Who are you? Who the fuck are you? Really?
mm, mm.
And it made me feel like I'm not that. And I want to be that. And why do I keep negating myself? And why do I keep stopping myself? And why
And
do I
doubting
keep
myself
and doubting my,
and
yeah, it's all
doubting
of
my
those things.
innate fucking wisdom inside of my body.
Yes.
You're like, yes.
Yes. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I'm happy to do that, because then that's getting me closer to my purpose, to my 38, to me
Yeah.
feeling like, okay, I am in the right spot. If I'm making people feel like they're having these revelations about who they are and who they're supposed to be, then yeah,
That's why my close
that's where
circle
I'm
is all
at.
39s or 3955s because we can't hang.
we just poke each other.
We just poke each other.
We get each other to feel shit.
We're like, yeah, feel that. And then, but it's actually all the time. We don't even realize we're doing it. And then we're like, fuck, you got
and
me.
it's never fucking personal, man.
No,
It's just like, oh
No.
man, you were the thing today that got me to feel something, got me to see
Yeah.
a truth for myself, and got me
Mhm.
to like question what it is that I'm feeling and go deeper
Mhm.
into that. And
Mhm.
it's never like, oh, you're a bitch for doing that.
Yeah,
It's
no.
like, dude, thank you. Thanks for
Yeah.
poking me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for poking me, guys.
Mm. Thanks
It's
for
been fun to
poking us
poke you
back.
and be poked back. Yeah.
Hopefully, we poked some people listening.
Oh, I think
Feel
you
free
did.
to drop it in the comments of how we fucking pissed you off. No.
I was gonna say this was like the most right brain, right mind conversation ever. Just like I felt like we were all in receptive la la land.
Well, we all have the same variable like direction, so
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
all just like chilling in our
But you know what?
receptivity.
Mm.
I
Focused
saw a
though.
comment recently. Someone was asking like their followers or their subscribers, like, do you guys want me to make shorter videos? Because some people are giving me shit about these, like the long ones. People were like, hell no, bring back the 3-hour ones. I do my laundry to this. Like,
Dude, I love long form. It's my favorite because
Mhm.
I feel like for me, like an hour in, like as a podcaster, an hour into the conversation is just when we're hitting on some fucking juice. Like it feels
no.
like we're just getting warmed up at that hour mark. And then anything after that just feels so rich to me. And I feel the same as a listener when I listen to podcast. I get excited when it's like I see it's 2 or 3 hours long. I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna go on a journey with these people, you know?
I bet that's why
Yes.
people like Joe Rogan's podcasts because they're
I think that's
forever.
exactly
Yes,
why
they
they like
do.
it.
Because they just
Absolutely.
get into the thing. Like at first it's like da da da, and then they're just
Absolutely.
like fucking getting in there.
Yeah.
And
Like, yes.
we did that
Mm-hmm.
And he
today.
has a
So
defined head and ajna too.
Oh,
So
he does. What's his design?
so there's 2 birth times out there. It seems like he's most likely the birth time that's a 5-2.
yep.
Okay,
He
that makes
just
sense.
feels like a
Because
5-2.
that
Yeah.
is because then he'd be consecutive.
Yeah.
And
The
that
caveman
makes sense.
diet.
Caveman because he eats elk,
Yes, he does. Yeah.
like
And I
hunts
think
his
he has a
own and
64-47. I think that's his head channel, which makes so much sense. I feel like his conversations are so abstract with people and
yeah.
And people
Oh
hate
yeah.
it or you love it.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he is like one of those black and white people where it's like, or okay, I'm here.
And
We're
you
going
can
on
see
a
this
journey.
the second line. Like
Yeah.
you can see the yeah. It's just
Especially in
like
paparazzi. That's where I noticed it. He doesn't
mhm.
like to be paparazzi'd
Yeah.
or like found out in the
in the
in
wild.
the in the wild, exactly, in the wild. But in the studio, he has this
Mhm.
more like calm
Mhm.
presence. Like, this is me. I watched some like TMZ clips and stuff of his, and he doesn't know whether he should get into fight or flight mode.
Mhm.
It's like, are you coming for me because you like me, or are you coming for me because you don't like me? I'm not sure.
That's very
And so
Which
there's
feels very
this.
fifth line personality.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And he's very like I just pulled up his chart because I'm curious, but he has smell cognition and
Mhm.
inner vision, probability view, and innocence. And he's very splenic.
What's
He has
his what's his sense? What's
uncertainty.
Yeah,
that's
that makes
fine.
sense because you can hear that in his podcast because he's just like, I don't fucking know.
Well, and the
Yeah.
confusion from the 6447. It's
Yeah.
like, I don't know.
But
I
you
don't
know, people often relate like defined ajna with certain like he'll
I
be like he'll be
know.
all of a sudden talking about something like vaccines or whatever, and he's like, I don't fucking actually know. I just know what I know, what I would do, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. It's funny too that you said that, Teresa, about the doubt, because all those hanging, those 3 head gates, they're all doubt in some form, because I have 61 and 63.
Yep.
And like you said, even me saying, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm kind of lost, it's not going to be perceived as that. It's still going to be perceived as I'm certain that I'm lost.
I'm certain that I'm lost.
that I don't
Exactly.
know.
It's like saying, yeah, I'm certain that I don't know. I know that I don't know.
Yeah.
And somehow that's more celebratory than someone that's just like, I don't know where I'm going, and I really do feel lost. People just kind of cast those people aside. But when I say I don't know, it's like, oh shit, okay, Jazz really doesn't know. So maybe we should all pause.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
It's
That
like
kind of
you're not
thing.
knowing makes me question my own knowing.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, well, wait, do I know? If she doesn't know, why am I even
Right.
asking this question?
Uh-huh.
But that's 3 hours of the Joe Rogan's podcast.
Uh-huh.
100%.
Yeah.
We ended where we started. We still don't know.
We're still confused. The epiphany has not happened. The realization has not dropped in.
And it never will. Come back next week.
Yeah.
I wonder if people like that's one of the reasons that people don't want to listen to his podcast is like he just never fucking knows.
It just inspires
Mm.
confusion, and that's
inspires-
it.
You know what? People really engage with his shit though, because
They do.
the comments are like long.
Yeah.
I'm a comment section person, and I am just like, I'm always flabbergasted by the amount of comments there are, and they're not just hearts or love this like Instagram. These are people writing out their thoughts on, and they timestamp. At this timestamp, you said this, and this was my thought with it. I'm sorry, those are my people. Like, you're timestamping my video, my 3-hour long.
That's impressive.
It is. It really is.
I would fucking forget.
I know.
Unless I was writing it down I would forget. I'd be like, my takeaway from that podcast would be like a paragraph, like a sentence of the 3 hours. I'd be like, until I needed it, until somebody asked me, hey, did you listen to Joe Rogan's episode about this? And I'd be like, I'd totally, that's just receptivity.
Well, maybe we're making content for a right world that's yet to come. And this is all practice for it, because this podcast is damn near 3 hours.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know. I looked at the clock an hour in, and I was like, it feels like it's, had this thought, it feels like it's been 5 minutes.
Right.
I was like, what the fuck? I feel like we just went into a void together.
We did.
Like, we lifted up into a spaceship together, and where time wasn't real.
It's almost 11 p.m. where I live. And I'm like, what?
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. Because it's almost 12 p.m. here.
Wow. What?
It's 11:40 a.m. And I had the same thought, Teresa. I thought, this is an hour in and we haven't said anything yet. So I wonder how, like, what where are we going? This cannot be an hour-long podcast. So maybe they'll chop it up. Maybe they'll edit it out. I don't know. I was thinking you guys will do your own thing.
No, we don't. We just edit out long pauses. But
I even haven't been doing that. I gave up on that.
Yeah.
For 2 episodes, I did that. And then I'm like, you know what? I don't give a shit.
Here's the thing. YouTube gets it like this.
Yeah, YouTube gets the raw. Like,
YouTube
I'll
gets it
edit
like-
out if
People
there
love
was like the internet dropped or something like that. I'll edit that shit out for the actual like.
But if I were to
podcast,
say,
but-
if I were to say like, hey, we need to stop, I need to go to the bathroom, that YouTube gets
would be
that.
on YouTube, yeah.
But we love that shit on YouTube, especially if you love long form content. Like that woman said, I'm doing my laundry. I'm like making dinner and I just have it on in the background. And ever so often I like to look at the faces and feel like I'm in conversation with them. And then I get back to my doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's me. I do that.
Yeah, me
That's
too.
how I take in content. So
Same.
why
we're
wouldn't I
right.
want to create? Yeah. Why wouldn't I want to
just-
create content like that? I've been like giving myself such shit to make short digestible content, and I'm not a short digestible person.
Oh yeah, I've accepted
No.
that. Like that's been my big thing the last couple months is realizing that podcast is my favorite way to put
Mm.
out content because it's my favorite way to take in content. And how
Mm.
much healthier it is for my brain to take in long form
Mhm,
versus
mhm.
scrolling on Reels or TikTok or
Mhm.
whatever and doing the short form, even though I love the dopamine from that. But
Yeah.
I don't actually think that's the type of content I'm meant to create because I I'm emotional too, number one. But like
Right.
my best essence does not come out in
An
a
hour,
minute.
under an hour. I
Yeah.
know.
Mhm.
Yeah, even under an hour, exactly.
Yeah.
Fucking exactly.
It's a warm up for sure. I get that.
The
I get it.
wave that people are riding when they're listening to this, they're like, is it done?
Yeah.
There's still an hour and a half left, but it sounds like,
Yeah,
oh
where
no,
are they-
they're on another, they're going down. They're talking about cult.
Just be patient. Look, if you can be patient and ride on the spaceship with us, it's gonna be a good time.
Yeah.
But if you're antsy and you're like, oh, I want to get off this thing, you shouldn't have gotten on. Do you know what I mean? It's gonna leave a bad taste in your mouth. That's how my
committed
lives
to a
were.
ride.
Yeah,
That-
there were
that
just like
might-
long pauses, and then I would get back in it again.
That might be the clip that I grabbed for Instagram, actually. Like, hey guys, you can go on this journey to outer space
Or
with
not.
us.
It's gonna be like a mushroom trip without the drugs. Just come on in. Come on
We're
into
just
the
gonna
spaceship.
ride up. We're just gonna like hot poker you a little, and then we're gonna pull it back and cool it down, and then
Mhm.
poke it, and then yeah.
I love that though. I'm here for it. So if you guys want to do more, I'm here, man.
All
Hell
right.
yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well,
Feels satisfied.
yeah. I feel
The
fucking
sigh of
alive,
satisfaction. That's like the
energized.
quintessential generator signpost.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
thank
Thanks
you
for
so
joining
much.
us.
Thank you guys. I'll talk to you soon. Let me
And
know if you need anything.
Yeah, and if anybody cares to find Jas, you can find she has a podcast that she's stopped, but it's fantastic. So many episodes.
Brandy with her gate 26
Also-
just like fighting for her
Yeah.
life here, trying to sell something.
I'm not selling shit. I'm just telling you, especially if you're a 3-5. She has a fantastic episode about 3-5s. Highly
Mm.
recommend. I send it to like every 3-5 in my life.
Aw.
Her podcast is called Countercultural. You can
Thanks,
find that
Brandy.
on Spotify. And her website is erasociety.com. That will be in the show notes. You can find her on Instagram, Jasmine Nnenna and Eras
Mhm.
Society. There, she has 2
Mhm.
Instagram pages. Go check her out.
Yeah.
Fall in love with her podcast and then complain that it's stopped.
It's ended.
But don't harass her to keep doing
Don't.
it because she won't do it if she doesn't want to.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Jas.
Thank you.